Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Fight Night Rising. We are back once again, and alongside me, I have Boopasaurus. How are you doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good. We got to talk a ton of D&D before coming on, and I got my like
True.
7 o'clock coffee. I am raring to go, Khroen. That's how I'm doing.
Ooh, always nice for some D&D talk, but we're gonna transition that into some TFT talk as we got another splendid lobby here for you all tonight. Got our returning three, of course, with That's Primal being the winner of last week, and Duo Q Abuser just narrowly missing out on first place, but gonna be looking to vie for that first here tonight. And of course, joined by once again, Gunmay, always part of the returning cast of Fight Night. Gunmay always top threes. But we have a couple of new players here as well. JakeyBoyCoffman and LeeRandomly. I believe this is both their first appearances on Fight Night, and as well joined by Sleet, NeekyNooky, and Peeba. Peeba, a person we haven't seen in a while, but in set two, really dominated for a while. And I want to see if that same Peeba dominance is able to return here tonight for Fight Night Rising. But of course, these players are also competing for that prize pool, that $200. First place gets 100 of that. Second place, $50. Third and fourth, 25. Top three will be invited back. Also, make sure to check Juked. Juked sponsors us here on Fight Night Rising and on all Giant Slayer stuff. So make sure to type !Rising in chat to get that Jukes command. Head on over there and see all this action, all this competition in one place. Boop. This has been an interesting meta here so far. What are your thoughts on everything that's sort of shaped out in terms of the comps? We saw Primal win with a bunch of Cybers last week. We still see Vanguard Mystics. So yeah, what's your take on what we might see here tonight?
Yeah, I think we might see a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B here tonight. The last time that we were here, it was literally the first day of the new patch. So a lot
Yeah.
of things were still getting discovered. And, a week in esports time is months long in terms of development, in my opinion. So we should be coming in to today with a little bit more intentional strategies, a little less of, oh, I'm just going to try this if I see it. But definitely more intentional about some of those strategies. We're definitely going to see Cyber still, maybe some Sorcerer mix, but mostly I think a lot of people are talking about Vanguard Mystics. I talked about it on my podcast last time, and I'm sure we're going to be seeing it in some of our lobbies today. How have you been experiencing this comp, either as a player or as someone within a lobby as that comp? Because it seems to be pretty oppressive to a lot of people right now.
Sorry, once again, what composition?
Vanguard Mystics.
Vanguard Mystics. Okay, yeah. So Vanguard Mystics, I think, has kind of fallen a little bit out of prevalence recently, just slightly though, because of a specific composition in a Six Blade Masters that we see some players playing now in Master E dealing true damage. Kind of screws up what Vanguard Mystics wants to do in its entirety, which is be super tanky and allow Cassiopeia a lot of time to deal a bunch of damage and be the carry of that composition. Of course, Jace also is a little bit of the carry there as well, if you're able to tier 3 him sometimes. But Master E seemingly a counter. Vanguard Mystics is still good, just seeing, not 4 people playing it per lobby.
That's variety is the spice of life. You
Yeah.
got to get a little bit of that variety in here. And unfortunately, we don't have a galaxy, or maybe fortunately, if you are like myself, I like the good old. At this point, the normal galaxy is a galaxy. At this point, it's the cleanest kind. No special bells or whistles, just good old TFT. So when we first start out things here, a lot of things are going to change. These are just items that a lot of people are looking for, and one of the most important that we're seeing on the Ziggs is the tier good item on the Ziggs. Blue buff again, replacing Seraphs ever since this patch did drop. So how have we seen that affect the game so far? It's definitely kind of neutered Ziggs in terms of
Oh yeah.
machine gun Ziggs. Oh, and look at this. He might actually
Yeah.
have that blue buff at the ready to start things off.
Definitely, and Ziggs is a great item carrier for that blue buff, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see Gunmay here keep that. But Ziggs, obviously, you're not going to be tier 3ing him anymore, stacking double Seraphs and going for that. Yeah, Gunmay already there does slam the blue buff. But it also makes things like the Star Guardians, stacking Syndra with Seraphs. It wasn't really too prevalent towards the end of before the mid-set update, but still,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you could do something like that. Blue buff is definitely in a more balanced state now. You're not going to have as many of those, I guess, outlier scenarios where it's just like too crazy good. But if you're playing in the game, you're most likely going to be able to get that Seraph's or that blue buff now, rather, if you want to run something like a Cassiopeia. So Gunmay definitely going to be looking at that so far as at least an option. You don't have to commit to 100%, but that's already a really, really good path to go there.
So we are seeing some of these items. The items are definitely more important at this point in the game to analyze for the players on how they're going to be going towards the mid and late game. I think the items decide that path a lot more than the champions do. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no,
Um,
definitely.
yeah,
Items are
but
very, very important. A little of both. Definitely more items.
a little bit of both. As we're seeing, thatsPRIMAL right now, our defending champ, and that was actually an exhilarating lobby last time because
Oh
he
yeah.
actually finished in 8th place on the last game and was able to get the victory by 1 point due to how the standings finished. But this is Harvard graduate, former Riot employee. thatsPRIMAL, our
Mhm.
friends that are coming back, and he's our defending champion. It's been a pretty common to see defending champion two-peat, but that three-peat has been hard. The only one that's been consistently coming back has been at Gunmay. Let's see if thatsPRIMAL is going to be able to join the regular cast of characters. I think Gunmay is looking for some friends.
Definitely, not bad to have some friends around these parts in Fight Night, but thatsPRIMAL has done very, very well recently, even on ladder, not just Fight Night. Obviously, he won last week, super good, but in general, his play has been very, very consistent recently. Already has a good start here with having a Last Whisper, really, really good if he wants to go that cyber composition that he was playing so much last week. There is the Leona in the shop, and if he wants to go cybernetics, definitely will pick that one up. But you have some options. You're not guaranteed to go cybers here. Last Whisper is good for pretty much any attack damage comp with how much Vanguard Mystics are prevalent right now. You need the Last Whisper to shred that armor. The value of Last Whisper has gone up so much, even though the item got nerfed from when it was 90% armor shred, now is only 75.
I mean, that just goes to show the prevalence of that armor, right? And now that we've
Hmm.
got Master Yi, and it's not just the Blade Masters that's putting him in there. It's what you said. It's that true damage, being able to
Yeah.
sneak in that damage. Because if you are going up against Vanguard Mystics, you're also potentially going up against a Soraka who's going to heal them all up. So they're tanky against all types of damage. Plus, they got to heal. It can be pretty oppressive when you don't have true damage, when you don't itemize against it. And right now, though, you're saying that the Blade Masters might be something that we could see to go against that comp. Is that something
Yeah.
that has become more prevalent within the last couple days, or has it always been something that's been good against that kind of comp?
Well, it's always been good against that kind of comp, but that kind of comp didn't really pop up until, last week. And now players are being like, okay, how can we counter that? And it turns out it's, a little bit of that Master Yi and those Blade Masters. It's only really been a thing for popular for a few days, though, at least. And I would not be surprised if we see that here tonight. Probably not from JakeyBoy, though, because JakeyBoy did just slam Morellos on that Alawi and has Yasuo offered in the shop, but is not picking that one up. I'm curious to see how our new players, JakeyBoy and LeeRandomly, do here tonight. I do recognize LeeRandomly from ladder, been performing very, very well recently. I believe is on at top 10 in NA or close to top 10, one of the two. But for now, we will check out Sleet, another consistent ladder performer here with some cybernetics in. Not committing to any items yet, any completed items, just slapping those on for the cybernetic buff.
So, something that you've talked about a couple times now is just ladder player. So, when you're a ladder player coming into a competitive environment, what's like the biggest difference versus like, hey, I'm playing a bunch of lobbies to maintain top 10? What like play style differences are there for these tournament lobbies? Just curious.
Playstyle differences from tournaments is that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You have 4 games. It is okay to play for consistency, not play for your first places like you might on ladder. Just play to top 4 sometimes, and that's all you need. It definitely gets a little bit more of that into games like 3 and 4. If you
Hmm.
know you're probably not going to get first place, but you might be able to sneak in a top 3 if you just play consistently for your next couple of games. Or if you're going to be guaranteed first place if you only need to secure I don't know, let's say like 3 to 6 points for, the next round. So definitely a bit of tournament play change. And I mean, I myself, I'm a player that plays a lot differently in tournaments than on ladder. My ladder performance is like, yeah, sometimes I have spikes of being really good, but usually pretty mediocre. But tournaments play a lot better. Some players, that focus, that fatigue that you might not hit on ladder, because you can take breaks and you can, have time to reset if you need to. You don't really get that in tournament. You just go and go and go. Like, you get a 5-minute break after, a couple of games, but more or less you're just in there for the long run there. It's a marathon.
All right, all 8 of these players in this lobby in it for the long run. SleetTFT, one of those players, like you said, has Cybernetic Vanguard online, not committing to items just yet. We've got the Lucian, the Fiora, and the Leona, just holding on to those items just to get that cybernetic bonus. Some good flexible options, but not a ton of money here. What do you think of SleetTFT's economy at this point?
Yeah, I think it's pretty on pace. I mean, in this meta, your players are not going to be afraid of spending their money to level to 5 after the stage 2 carousel. Wanting to preserve HP, still very much a priority. I believe really only if you know of a player named Aegon. Aegon's competing in Giant Slayer series here on Giant Slayer TV, and he like opened forts and wants to econ, but pretty much no one else does that right now. Maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's it's rare. He does it really well, but it's just not a playstyle that most players focus on right now.
Open forting, man. I don't know how I feel about that in
Yeah,
terms of just
really
like being
weird.
in the game, you know?
Aegon's like I watch his stream sometimes, and I remember before sometimes he does it and rolls down. It's like, all right, this game is just doomed. Like, go next. It's an 8th, but a lot of times he does hit and makes it work. Like, rolls down with a bunch of gold on level 6 or level 7. He's been really favoring the Sork mech style of play, which we might see here tonight. Sork mech is pretty good. Wouldn't be surprised if players are taking tips from strong players such as Aegon.
All right, now we're seeing one of our newbies here. It's the LeeRandomly, I believe, first time today, as we have Minozerks, who is Gunmay at the top on fire. Classic Gunmay for the first 2 lobbies. But LeeRandomly looking at a couple Chronos, Brawlers, Blasters. Good early game opportunities here with the Chrono and the Blasters. But so far on that 1 game losing streak, unable to tier 2 a couple of those units. And I mean, you're seeing just how strong the itemization can be for tanks like Poppy, who has gone through a lot of changes, but just with 2 items, not even able to break through the shield, randomly unable to do so.
Couple of Vanguards, Ionic plus a Vest on that Poppy. It's gonna tank for days. Maybe a 2-2 Caitlyn snipe could have taken that out, or at least threatened taking it out, but not going to be good enough with just a tier 1 here for LeeRandomly. Not bad to lost streak, couple losses into Krugs, or into Terror Bursters rather. They are not Krugs anymore. Check myself on that one.
Yeah.
But 94 HP, has a Vayne offered, could go Cybernetics route there. Already did slam a Giant Slayer over a Last Whisper, which is generally not something that we see. I'm not sure if LeeRandomly had the option initially before the carousel to slam that. Maybe just grabbed a glove. On the past carousel.
Let's go deeper on that, because that's been a huge talk of the town right now, is the Giant Slayer versus Last Whisper conversation, because I think Giant Slayer, just like old school Ginsu's, is kind of a trap, right? You see it, you see the stats, you're like, oh, tanky people, it should percent health, that's good, but as you just said, Last Whisper might actually find a little bit more value. What's the decision making between those 2 items? When is it Last Whisper? When is it Giant Slayer? If it is a one or the other type of situation.
Giant Slayer does true damage based on the percentage of HP, so it works really great on things like 4 blasters, or 4 brawlers rather, excuse me, mech, and units with Warmogs. But besides that, Giant Slayer really doesn't ever feel that great right now. In this current meta, you're pretty much always going to get more value, especially in the early game, out of a Last Whisper, because there are not going to be units with the HP early game to justify building Giant Slayer. LeeRandomly is a very good solo queue player right now, has climbed a bunch, so I would assume, based off of that information, that LeeRandomly did grab the glove off of the stage 2 carousel, and already decided to slam the Giant Slayer, because that was the only real item to slam. After the first PvE round, so slamming items means preserving HP, and LeeRandomly being in second place right now obviously is preserving HP pretty well. Will even win this round here against JakeyBoy.
So LeeRandomly gets his victory. We're looking over a duo Q abuser who showed up onto the scene last week and
Mhm.
absolutely destroyed a couple lobbies. The most consistent out of out of I think everyone on that last lobby. I would say it would be thatsPRIMAL, but with that 8th place finish in lobby 4, it's so funny that he finishes in top 2, top 3, the first 3 lobbies. But all we've talked about so far is that 8th place in that
Yeah.
4th lobby. But duo Q abuser was really consistent. Played a variety of team comps from what I remember last time. Pretty flexible. What is something that you're looking forward to seeing him in week 2 now that you've gotten a little bit more info on him?
Yeah, I think definitely Duo-Q Abuser, as he's doing right now, is playing early game very, very well. Has slammed items, has Ionic and Death Cap. It reminds, or it might be a Riven once I see those items, but it could just be Mech Sork as well. Duo-Q Abuser does have a pair of Annies on the bench, so it makes me think it might indeed be just that, be a Mech Sork, even maybe with a Riven composition. Duo-Q Abuser is really good at playing to those outs and slamming items, playing strongest board while giving himself a direction to go with those items, which is very, very important if you're going to not only go on that win streak initially, but maintain that into the mid game. Playing the Fizz too as well really makes me think it's going to be a mech.
He has to keep this going at this point because if he wants to extend his lead, this is the best way to do it. Because a lot of times with mech comps, you end up losing a little bit in that mid game. But if he's win streaking there, he's gonna find himself in a really powerful position once he does get all the parts together. Because the items he's got on that poppy aren't terrible either for that specific composition. So
Yeah.
something else that I want to talk about too is the fact that we've gotten a couple of new 5-cost units. We see some Star Guardians or 1 Star Guardian on the other
See,
side is
Nico and her daughters.
yeah, yeah,
Tiny Nico's right next to her. Don't talk to me or my daughters
little
ever again.
Polly Pocket Nikos. Man, that parent teacher conference is probably pretty awkward. But no, looking at Peeba's side, Star Guardians, a lot of people thought, oh, Janet coming in true damage. We haven't really been seeing a ton of Star Guardians. Is it still just a little too
Yeah.
weak right now?
Yeah, 6 Star Guardians is just weaker than 6 Sork. You're just gonna, if you play Star Guardians, it's just a weaker version. You can throw Janna into a 6 Sork composition, get like 3 or 4 Star Guardians at the end there, and it gives like a little bit of bonus, but to run like Poppy or Nico in endgame, like Soraka's a good unit, but it's just not worth running the 6 bonus there. The damage that you get from 6 Sorks with a Riven, Victor, Xerath, Mech, and all of that just purely
Oof.
outclasses.
Oh man, Victor, that's the one that makes me want to tear my hair out. You see that laser come through and then everyone gets deleted. I
Oh
can
yeah.
feel pretty bad. And to go along with the fact that if you got your 6 swords, you got your mech. The mech is way stronger than it was in the last iteration. They put a lot more stats into the mech at large and took them out of the actual units within the mech to give a little bit more identity to the mech pilots potentially outside of the mech. But we'll see. I'm sure we'll see Mech Sorcerer here in just a second as we're looking at NeekyNooky now, who's looking at Brawler Rebel Chrono. This seems to be a very common opening for, I think this is the 3rd player we've seen so far with a very similar kind of opening.
Yeah, definitely. This is very telling of going a sort of Jinx style of play. Has a Giant Slayer as well. Did slam that, which is still really good for a Jinx. Maybe we'll slam a Last Whisper there, as there is a lot of Vanguards. There's a Bramble in the lobby as well. Wouldn't be surprised if this does turn into a Jinx. Maybe 4 Brawler, 4 Brawler, 2 Blaster, maybe 6 Rebels. I think both those compositions are good if you're running Jinx. It just depends on what you hit. If you like, Naruto, Vi 2, things like that, or if you like, Aurelion Souls, GPs, you very well could go either or.
So we're definitely going to be seeing these Caitlyn's moving out of the way. If we're going for a Rebel Blaster, Rebel Brawler composition, we're going to be seeing the Vi's get picked up and potentially the linchpin of that composition. One might say could be an ASOL at the end, but there's a new Rebel amongst our ranks, and that's Zed. How has Zed changed as we're going into Protectors now with Peeba? How has Zed changed the Rebel comp, if at all?
Zed has changed Robocomp in one very important way, and that's the fact that you can add Fizz as a standalone, not a standalone unit, but a 2 infiltrator unit at level 8 or level 9. And Fizz has very, very, very good backline access. He ulties and kind of destroys the backline, helps Jinx get resets, protects her from the backline because it CCs them as well. Is just a super good standalone unit, and having Zed and Rebels allows that to be way more powerful.
All right, so Peeba rocking Protectors and Celestials right now. This is where you could see that Protector A Soul. Right now, you use the Giant Spelt already for that Warmog, so we might not see that Protector A Soul, but 6 Protector A Soul won me a game earlier today, and if I can win a lobby, any one of you guys can, as well as we're coming up on the Infiltrators. This is a good opportunity for a lot of our players to finish up their comps, finish up those items, because this is the last NPC round where you will get components instead of Kane's complete items for you, Granddaddy Kane, if you will. But yeah, what is in terms of items? We got some good ones on Nico right now, who's going to be pretty tanky in the front line. What else is he looking for?
What else looking for? I mean, if you're just running,
Uh-oh.
oh wow, okay, well,
Look at his face. Look at his face.
this is the Peeba classic face that happened in set 2 when he went to level 8 and just like rolled perfect items, hit the Zed, hit the Singe, and everything. I just got like such deja vu from that Peeba face right there, actually. He's literally pogging right now about that Protector spot. That will most definitely go onto an Aurelion Soul when he reaches level 7 or 8. Maybe we'll high roll it on 7, but running 6 Protectors and perhaps some Mystics later on as well definitely is what Peeba's going to do. I'm a bit surprised to see these items on a Nico instead of a Xin Shao, because Xin Shao generally does a lot more damage, is that carry, and Nico can't really do as much of that. Like, she does a little bit of damage right there when she casts her ultimate, but it is not as much as again Xin Shao. So maybe we'll swap those items over later. He's able to find another Nico 2. I don't imagine it'll be Nico 3 though.
Ooh, I mean the Nico though is
It's possible.
look
Nico
at this.
could
One more
actually
ult, she
do it.
gets it.
Wow, she does.
Yeah. There it is.
I'm
So let's talk about the
surprised.
difference there. Let's talk about Nico versus Xin Zhao. So for Nico, you get the AoE. For Xin Zhao, you get that single target damage, but you get the heal along with the Protector Shield. Of course, you're giving up, some single target damage for AoE damage. You still, even after seeing the victory of the Nico there, would have liked to see those items on the Xin Zhao instead.
Probably, yeah, I think so. I think Xin Shao is just a lot more consistent. Is not only able to have a lot of single target damage, but it is more survivable because he casts ulti often, or more often, so he'll get more shields and be able to be more survivable than that Nico. Nico nearly got taken out there, was a little bit too strong, but if that was like a Jinx 2, that would have been super lights out there for Peeba. But fortunately, Peeba was able to stabilize, is on 45 HP, not at the bottom. But we do switch over to Gunmay right now, and Gunmay has perfect item Cassiopeia, so in a really good spot here, and on 79 HP, needs that Cassio 2 before he's really comfortable. But I mean, this is super good so far for Gunmay, playing this really well.
Especially since Duo-Q Abuser did lose right above him, and
Yep.
our first two players have a pretty substantial lead over the rest of the lobby. 20 HP over thatsPRIMAL, and at the late game, that is 1 or 2 fights, but right now, it's going to take a bit for those two to finish outside the top 4. I mean, it's going to take some serious loss streaks to take those two down. Everyone else, though, competing for those top 3 spots, and you really, in my opinion, want to start off strong when it comes to these 4 lobbies. I'd rather finish in first here than get an 8th place a little later like thatsPRIMAL. I swear we'll stop talking about that in a second. But when it comes to some of these other players, you really want to finish in that top 3. Set yourself up for that climb, for that marathon really well, and pace yourself so you don't have to like exude or expend too much energy on a potential comeback opportunity a little later on. But looking at Gunmay's comp, that tier 1 cast still pushing a ton of damage. Blue buff so good on her, along with the Morellos. No battle cast trait to go along with her, which is pretty good when she gets to low health, especially at this point in the game. Starts falling off right here, gets so very close. If that cast is tier 2, though, that is not nearly as close as what we just
Yeah,
saw.
no. But still was good enough. I mean, it was a Jinx 1 on the other side, but still good enough to take out the Jinx 1 there. Jinx didn't get resets for a while, and Cassiopeia, man, she's just way too good for what she does. Put RFC on her, she's safe in the back line, has the Vanguards protecting her, and just spreads all of that damage. Morello complements her so well, and all of that tick damage that Morello will take for so long. We see a lot of Jinx players actually in this lobby. thatsPRIMAL, winner of last week. Once again, trying to look for that and going Jinx build to do that. These, I think, are perfect items Jinx. Sometimes you would want not the RFC and would want either a defensive or maybe like a Giant Slayer, depending, but RFC, Jinx is going to stand there in the back, be protected by Blitzcrank, be protected by all those rebels and brawlers surrounding her. Even rolls the Jinx to right there is level 8. thatsPRIMAL is in such a good spot right now. Could even transition into 6 rebels if he wants to. But even has a Zephyr on his bench. And, oh man, Zephyr on the Blitzcrank, or even Zephyr on an Ezreal second in the corner and then Blitzcrank a little bit next to it to yoink those units out of the corner that have stuff protecting them. So they're like in that spot right next to the corner. And yeah, Primal right now Zephyring the corner spot. Unfortunately is it's gonna get Ezreal. That's still pretty good actually.
Yeah, I mean, Ezreal's a little bit more of a utility character now, so if he doesn't get that ult off, you're going to get yours off so much quicker, and you're seeing all that damage coming through. It's so funny he got that Jinx too and just left his computer. That's exactly the type of Moxie I want to have in my life at some point. This Jinx is giving me life right now and giving a lot of people death on the other side. We're going to go ahead and take a look over at JakeyBoyCoffman, who is sitting at the bottom of the leaderboard. Surprisingly above him is Peebs, who probably has not landed on that ace ult just yet, or else we might be seeing him a little bit more successful. And we have a Star Guardian Sorcerer comp right now. Maybe was looking towards a mech, has still a bunch of items on at the bench. You got to use those, buddy. You got 15 HP left. You might not have more opportunity than this to actually do something with this comp. What Star Guardian is he missing right
now? Star Guardian or
Sorcerer? Sorry,
Victor.
Victor.
Victor, Xerath, a couple that are missing right now. I actually don't like the play of JakeyBoyCoffman leveling to 8 there, because you level in to play an Annie 1, and that's not really gonna do too much. I mean, it's stage 4. So if you lose, you're not going to die, I believe, unless you get like 8-0'd maybe. I'm actually not 100% sure the damage on that. Not getting 8-0'd here though, so we'll have 1 life either way going into stage 5. I would have liked to see that gold spent on either rolling down for the Riven 2 or going 8 after the Raptors to have a bit of more gold, econ for those couple more turns, and then find the Riven. Instead is going to be pretty poor. Only have about 12-ish gold next round unless he gets any from these Arc Raptors.
All right, we got the Arc Raptors coming up, the real last component round. So what items are we looking for here? Because that bow, that glove can go into some good sorcerer items, but not quite yet. In best case scenario for JakeyBoyCoffman, what does that look like?
I mean, 2 rods, 3 rods, I don't know. It's looking kind of doomed for Jakey Boy, I think, with these items. Riven having double defensives, no Ionic, no death cap. I mean, Jakey Boy, yeah, on that 12 gold, needs to roll here, finds any 2 and finds a Xerath. That is good.
So he gets a 6 sorcerer.
Yep, 6 sorcerer. Has not, however, found the Riven 2, has Nico on the bench. This will probably end up being a Zeke's. Yeah, puts the Zeke's on the Janna there. Last Whisper, not a good item, but needs to slam that probably on the Xerath, give more attack speed there.
Not a good item for this comp. A good item in general, but for this comp, definitely not.
Yeah, for this comp, definitely not. Sorcerer is not relying on those auto attacks, but going up against, I believe this is Sleet. Sleet having a very strong Vayne there with Cybernetics comp is just shredding through all of Jakey Boy's units right now. The Annie is no match. The Riven is trying, and actually, okay, not able to pull it off with the Vayne. The Sorcerer is that 6 Sorc buff with Jakey Boy helps him to live for at least 1 more round here, as LeeRandomly falls to 9 HP right above Jakey Boy.
Yeah, this is where we see the players start dropping like flies, and it might look like Jakey Boy is sitting in that top 8 position, but judging by how Peebs plays or LeeRandomly plays, he might be able to climb his way back up, especially now that he's got his 6 Sorcerer, 4 Star Guardian combo that, something that we probably didn't expect to see at this point in time. One of the big things about this combo is there's no meat, there's no beef in the front line. That's Annie on that Warmogs, and while Annie did get some love in terms of tankiness for this patch, especially with the Riven 1, it's going to be really hard for the sorcerers in the backline to actually find the value, so they're going to have to make sure they get as many kills as possible with those first spell casts. But with the Zephyr on the Victor, it's going to be a little bit harder to do as the Vi goes down. before able to take down that Janna. The tornadoes come out, but the damage is done, and thatsPRIMAL will be eliminating JakeyBoyCoffman. And that's the worst, when the game gives you a little bit of hope before taking you down in 8th place, as we got Peeba now, and I'm seeing a Protector Azel. He'll be around for a little
Mhm.
while longer, as LeeRandomly also falls in 7th place.
Yeah, we got some quick eliminations after, the beginning of stage 5 here. Jakey Boy not hitting the Riven 2, not hitting, great Xerath items, or no Xerath 2, no Victor 2, just not a good enough early to mid game to get him to a point where he needed to be. LeeRandomly unfortunately fell as well. A couple of the new competitors here not having a great start to the day. Hopefully they can pick it up in future games, but for now, checking out the 6 Protectors by Peeba. Man, I love just watching Peeba's like facial expressions. They're very, very telling of what he's thinking and what he's feeling, and it's just a roller coaster. I love it.
That'd be good content one day. Just get a VOD of his face and try to guess what's going on, based
Actually, would
off of
be.
the reactions. I'm sure that'd be great. But I mean, the Echo, it feels like he's hitting them with a wet noodle or a pool noodle at that point in time with that ult. The Protector's just too beefy. And something that that we also need to talk about is, just even though it's just Soraka 1, the sustain available, you've got the shielding, which gives you just enough time to get that heal from the Soraka. And if the Soraka is able to ult, it's going to be a big deal, because if they can't kill you, you're going to win that round, forehead, right? So that's what's so hard about that Protector comp, especially with Protector Azel, is what do you do against it once it gets online?
Yeah, I mean, that Vayne that we saw Sleet have go up against Peeba, I mean, it just needs to get on that Aurelion Soul early, shred the armor from the Bramble, and take it out maybe with an Aurelia or an Echo, targeting it as well. But as of right now, Sleet was still on 50 gold, so was trying to push level 9 instead of being as strong as possible there. So fortunately for Peeba, that was indeed the case. Going back right now to Gunmay, though, Gunmay is in a good spot to go level 9 and to really cap out this composition with a Thresh and hopefully some Urgots on the bench there. Because, man, is this game Urgot fight tactics right now in the end game, pretty much. Thresh is pulling them in. That is the name of the game.
Yeah, one of the bigger things that he's probably looking at now, especially since he's close to level 9, is getting rid of that Bard for a Lulu.
Yep.
We've got the Mystic backline with the Vanguard frontline. This is a comp that we knew we would be seeing. Let's talk about this on a deeper level, because we know it's good. We know technically why, all right? You're splitting the type of damage, you get the heal, everyone's tanky, and you can win through the war of attrition a lot of the time. Is that pretty much it, or is there something more at its core that makes this particular combination of heroes so strong?
With the Vanguard Mystics?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really just a lot of that war of attrition. I mean, 4 Mystics is so much magic resist, 4 Vanguards is so much armor. Cassio spreads damage just so well. It kind of just works out that way because of the fact that Cassiopeia is a Mystic that can carry. That is the key part of
Ooh.
it. And those items there, not too bad on that Mordekaiser. NeekyNooky drops to 5 HP. But yeah, back to the Vanguard Mystics. It just works out so well because of that Cassiopeia. I mean, she's just able to do it all there, really. Frontliners like Jason Wukong are able to be super tanky. Nautilus as well provides CC, good frontline. Just lines up.
And I think you nailed it, man. It's the fact that you give Cassiopeia, whose 2 synergies are a little bit defensively focused, the ability to carry. And when you give a Mystic carry potential, I think you see what we're seeing right now. It's just the ability for these Mystics to make something happen. But you got to make things happen against this Azel, and they finally almost broke through the Protector shield. Remember, the drones also steal mana, which gives you even more of an opportunity to get that Protector buff off. And this Azel just maybe a little too tanky right
This is
now. The
slow fight.
only thing that Gunmay needs is, a way to burst it down, and that's the one thing that Vanguard Mystic doesn't have. It's a little bit more, DOT damage. He does get it
Oh,
in at
it's
the end,
enough.
but if that Azel was an Azel 2, it might be a different story. But I guess that is one of the bigger problems with that comp, is there's no burst damage. Even the biggest damage you have, that Cassiopeia, is going to be, damage over time. There's no one who's just going to knock you right out outside of that Jace, potentially.
Yeah, man, that last fight was actually so close. The Cassio fell extremely low to that Aurelion Soul late on into that fight. But man, it War of Attrition definitely goes to speak for both of these compositions, 6 Protectors and Vanguard Mystics. Gunmay 69 HP right now, well above everybody else, pretty much doubling second place with thatsPRIMAL. thatsPRIMAL on a win streak as well with that Jinx composition. Hitting that Jinx 2 earlier proved to be very instrumental. Sleet, though, falling to 1 HP. Sleet maybe, spent a little bit too much time econing there, because had just now gone to level 5 or level 9, excuse me, was on 50 gold since round 5-3, is rolling down now and needs to find some really good stuff. Maybe an Echo 2. Thresh will go in for that Mana Reaver. Already has 2 Chrono though. Okay, finds. Oh, there we go. All right, that's good.
Yeah. Would
I
you
would
sell the Urgot here?
Man, I mean, it's rough. You don't have anything to pull in from Thresh if you make the Echo 2, but Echo 2 can help you win the fight. So can Urgot, though, theoretically, but Urgot's not the thing that gets pulled in, and
Oh,
Echo dies
no.
immediately. Vayne, though, is still alive and still pumping out damage, tumbles away from that Victor ultimate, and I think Sleet will be surviving for one more round. Puts Duo Q Abuser down to 3. NeekyNooky and Peeba on single-digit HP as well. Maybe one of those players will die here. And yes, one of them will. Peeba and NeekyNooky are facing each other. And the Aurelion Soul, can it do enough? I don't think it can. Peeba going out in 6th place here. Protector Aurelion Soul not able to do it. 6 protectors falls short.
Yep. He needs to get a new pair of carry pants in order to get those carries back, and he needs to be ASL too. I guess, especially at this point in the game, if he was able to develop a little bit more of a lead, say Peeba was at 60 HP when he landed on that Protector spat item, then we might be talking about a different story, being able to use his money a little bit more freely. Again, those decisions that you make earlier on affect your late game so much. And since he kind of lucked into this ASOL, maybe some investment was made elsewhere before getting this ASOL to the best place possible. Because an ASOL 2 probably takes down both of those team comps that we saw him lose against. But right now we've got SleetTFT. We're going to go to NeekyNooky here in just a second. And NeekyNooky with 5 HP. We potentially could get 2 members, maybe even 3 if someone loses to a Ghost eliminated here. We're going to get our top 4 no matter what by the end of this round, as Duo Q Abuser also is very low. So NeekyNooky is going to beat him to 5th place, and Duo Q Abuser will finish in 4th. A nice return to form for him, setting himself up for another potential top 3. But our top 3 today on this first lobby is going to be Gunmay in 1st. thatsPRIMAL in 2nd. Man, how consistent. And SleetTFT sitting at 1 HP in a dream.
Yeah, this top 4 does not surprise me at all. NeekyNooky and Duo Q Abuser neck and neck there. Fortunately for Duo Q Abuser, does manage to stretch out that 4th place. But Primal, Gunmay, Sleet, top 3. Gunmay still sitting in such a good spot here, still on 69 HP on a win streak. Nice. We might see someone being eliminated here with Sleet and thatsPRIMAL. The Brawler Jinx versus the Cybernetics, but Echo is going to take out that Jinx, and Vayne now is just going to run free. I don't think thatsPRIMAL will lose here. Maybe, though. If nothing else dies, it'll be close in terms of damage, but I think it'll barely survive. Yeah, 1 HP, actually.
Oh, my goodness. Another 1 HP or so. Gunmay is feeling nice and pretty on his throne. He's at a let them eat cake situation right now at 69 HP. I wonder who he will face in this next round, as we finally do get some item components to potentially finish out some of those items for our players if they have any left on the bench. We got Thieves Gloves going over to thatsPRIMAL, so that's potentially 2 completed items going towards him and the rest of his squad. 4 Mystics, 4 Vanguards for one of our players. We got Gunmay sitting at the top. Wow, what a pack, by the way. What a pack to not pick anything out of. Yeah, 3-4 cost, 2-5 cost cards.
This is huge for Sleet getting the Infiltrator spot. Not only is it good to give Irelia backline access, which is very, very much needed versus both Gunmay and Primal's composition, but it also buffs Echo with the Infiltrator buff as well, so he'll be able to attack faster and get his ultimate out even faster. So huge there for Sleet in that pickup. See if it is enough here as we go into what potentially could be the final fight of the game. Let's see.
All right, so it's going to be thatsPRIMAL against Gunmay against SleetTFT. So first blood's gonna go the way of Gunmay, who's been sitting pretty. Oh, but the Soraka ult does go off before she gets uppercutted by that Vi in the back line. But right now I'm seeing a little bit more green
Oh
than
yeah.
red. But the red is gonna be a little bit more tanky. That Thieves Love should not be keeping him alive that much longer, as Gunmay does fall. All the players actually make it through this round. So 3 players remaining before we get to Shelly. I don't remember the last time I even potentially saw 3 players make it to Shelly at the end game. This is crazy stuff.
Yeah, potentially could have been last fight of the game, but everyone survives somehow. Primal with this composition, very, very, very strong. And Sleet as well, the Infiltrator buff was exactly, I think as I said, instrumental in taking out Gunmay's comp there. Oh, Cassiopeia 3 though we see on the side, picked up by Gunmay, so I believe that may have gone differently if that was achieved last round, but unfortunately for thatsPRIMAL, we'll have to face it this round. See if the Jinx can take it out though.
And nice and safe in the corner so far. No aggression towards this Cassiopeia, but tons of damage going on to the other side. She's going to get pulled in. She's still going to maintain her safety, but she's going to get pulled in by the Urgot, but the Urgot dies right before the Cassiopeia was eaten. No rattlesnake on the menu today for that Urgot, as Cassiopeia survives. 2 players remaining. Sleet was able to take Gunmay down last time around. 49 HP for Gunmay, just 1 for Sleet, but Sleet's been perfect over the last at least 4 rounds.
Man, that was heartbreaking for Primal there. If that Urgot was able to eat that Cassio, if the Jinx didn't get CC'd by the Wukong initially, was actually able to get resets, that fight honestly could have gone either way, but unfortunately for Primal, not the way that he was looking for. 3rd place, not too bad in game number 1 though, but Gunmay starting off real strong.
Whew, as he always does. Remember, the real storyline really comes through on game 3 after halftime, and we'll definitely be checking in on Gunmay. But our top 3 from last time all finishing in the top 4, so doing quite well for our returning members with Duo-Q Abuser, thatsPRIMAL, and Gunmay all finishing in the top 4. Gunmay again sitting at 49 HP at the top, but had a pretty big struggle buggy against SleetTFT the last time they faced off against each other. So we get our classic Mystic Vanguard against our pretty much tier 3 Cassiopeia on the other side. I wonder how good the Soraka ult is going to be if the Cassiopeia is able to, if the Soraka is able to stay alive and maybe give another life to this Cassiopeia. The Vayne in the back line doing a lot of damage, and the Soraka is going to fall. But will the Cassiopeia even need the help? Urgot does eat a couple more people. He's got 2 Urgots on the field now, so that's 2 potentially beautiful, tasty meals. And I think this Cassiopeia is going to be a little bit too much to handle for Mystic. For Vanguard will be the victor of our first lobby, as Gunmay takes the 10 points.
Man, that fight went so well for Gunmay. The repositioning on the right side with Cassio, they really had jumped to the wrong side. Took out the Soraka instantly, but it was not enough. Cassiopeia too safe. Urgot being pulled in by Thresh to eat that Aurelia, and Vayne couldn't do it in the back line. Did not have a did not have a 3rd completed item there, as we see the scores. Gunmay 10 points, Sleet 8, thatsPRIMAL 7, Duo-Q Abuser at 6. The rest of the lobby, bottom 4, unfortunately, in the game 1, but we still have 3 more games here to go. We still see points being, shaken up a lot of the times. Nothing has been decided yet. Gunmay, though, first 2 games.
Crazy, Khroen.
Strong.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I feel like when it comes to our lobbies, we'll have like the same top 3 for the first 3 lobbies, and the 4th lobby comes around and the whole thing changes.
Yeah.
So definitely stay tuned, because again, 10 points, in the way that this works, say someone finishes in 7th one game, right? 10 points inherently becomes more valuable then, and it's all about consistency. Winning a lobby sets you up really well, but you also have to be consistent in the way that you finish, because thatsPRIMAL almost, again, lost his whole, all 4 lobbies because of 1 8th place finish after playing so well. It was him and Duo-Q Abuser battling at the top for almost an entire day last week, and we're actually kind of seeing that happen again with Duo-Q Abuser finishing in 4th and Gunmay finishing in 1st. This is a strong top 3. I am really interested to see how if we'll ever get a point where the top three at Fight Night Rising maybe becomes a little too stagnant, right? Where maybe we have more than one person as Gunmay, right? And it's just a cycle of challengers coming in for these top three players. And if I were to say, if we were to come into that situation, I think right now could be that, because I think our top three coming from last week is pretty strong.
Yeah, they've certainly made the argument for them being strong and wanting to be back next week so far. Just remains to be seen if they're going to be consistent. And Gunmay, obviously the king of consistency, at least right now in Fight Night. But Primal had a really, really good last couple of weeks. Can he keep it up though? I suppose. Time will tell. That is going to be the major thing here as we go into game number 2. We are on the trade sector. Every player will get that free reroll every single round. Maybe we're going to be seeing some random tier 3 1-cost units that we don't usually see, but Gunmay, I'm getting a little deja vu right now. He got a Ziggs tier again.
Hey, that worked out for him last time as he developed such a lead. I think he won that last lobby by 49 HP. The Zig should be doing pretty good on these NPC rounds. So let's talk about trade sector a little bit. You said that we might be seeing some tier 3 units that we normally don't see. Everyone gets a free reroll. What's the difference between how like a professional like yourself, Khroen, uses a free reroll versus a casual player like myself? Might use a free reroll. What, in terms of the competitive aspect of this particular galaxy, what does it offer, or what does it even take away from just your normal run-of-the-mill TFT?
Well, yeah, good thing you said that because it does take away a lot as well. What it'll give you is opportunity to have a strong early game if you're able to hit those pairs, get those tier 2 units, but it takes away the ability for you to econ because you're going to be re-rolling for free, but you're going to be hitting units that you want to buy. So players will not level up always at 2-1 or 2-2 like they usually might, and they also will just not be econing to 50 gold nearly as fast. It's something that you do have to balance. Being on trade sector, the pacing of the game is going to be a lot different.
And in this lobby in particular, are there, because I think that's the coolest thing about galaxies is certain players will probably perform better on certain galaxies. Is there anyone
Yeah.
in this particular lobby that you can say maybe might struggle with this kind of increased tempo in the early game?
Hmm. Honestly, I'm most unsure about I could be wrong about this, but I'm most unsure about how thatsPRIMAL will fare on this galaxy because I think based off of his playstyle and wanting to play strongest board usually like this galaxy is good for playing strongest board, but you have to juggle a lot of things early, and I think even coming from last week in his interview, thatsPRIMAL said that he really wasn't sure if he wanted to, double Nico that Vayne. The early game, I think, is something that while thatsPRIMAL has gotten really good at, there's still a lot more room for error on trade sector as opposed to
Mm.
other galaxies because there's a lot more decisions that you need to make, and if they're not correct, then it punishes you a lot more. DuoCube user finds double Vayne on that reroll though.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm gonna
that's
sell my
pretty
units
insane.
quick for
Yeah.
double vein,
Like that,
especially.
that decision right there that DuoCube user made, like that is a decision that can make or break the whole entire game for you. Selling a Malphite 2 is like such an investment right now, but once you hit
Mm.
double Vayne, it's an investment that you probably want to take at that point, and
I
DuoCube
mean,
user did, and it's working out at least so far. Hopefully he can find a third
yeah.
cybernetic soon, but it just, that's my example right there. Like that's the whole point of it. There's so many
That
decisions.
it's great when you get to see it happen like that, right? And I totally agree with you, and I think that's what I think some players really struggle with just in general, not just in this game, but I mean, like in life, I have decision paralysis, right? When you're presented with options, sometimes you get into a position where you don't know which option to take. That's why in game design they say if you give a player more than two options, you might as well give them infinite options
Yeah.
because that's just how it works, right? And I think TFT is really testing that ability to make decisions at the unlike a line so thin it's almost like a hair, right? Where okay, I have a Malphite 2. I could go this way. I could go early Rebel Brawlers / Chrono, which a lot of people do, or I could commit to this vein. I already have good items for it. And to do it
Yeah.
in the last 2 seconds, that's again, just ache into the decision making that if you want to become good at this game, you have to be able to do and trust yourself in it, right? Because I
Yep.
definitely have seen players, Gunmay in the past, one of these players, not trust themselves and would not have made that decision like that.
Yeah, decision making is so huge, and you can go back on it, look back, and be like, man, what if I had done this other thing? But you have to be confident about it and be like, this is the route that I chose. Let's, go with what I have and try to make the best from it. And that's what these players are trying to do. That's Primal opening up with a couple of Battlecast blasters. We don't see that many players running Battlecast early, but if you're going to, this is going to be the time to do it when you have a Kog'Maw Alawi, a couple of brawlers in the front line. Last Whisper to be the item holder. Maybe that's Primal will be going for another sort of Jinx carry as he did last game. Worked out fairly well. So gonna be looking that direction.
How do you feel about Jinx in general? Do you think she's in a pretty healthy spot? Do you think maybe she's pretty? Because I think the game needs carries like Jinx in the world, like a Kale, just because I think they're easy linchpins for a comp. But we see
Yeah.
Jinx a lot, very competitive as those units should be in terms of balance and power. How do you feel Jinx compares to some of the other more complained about units like Urgot?
Yeah, I will get back to that in one moment. I just want to address the fact that Sleet did end up finding the tier 2 Vayne on that next turn, and that's insane. Tier 2 Vayne that's Primal had last week was because of a double Nikos, but Sleet found it naturally.
The old-fashioned way.
Naturally found a Vayne 2 right now. That is
Yep.
insane.
He
But
probably
to
thought the
address
song was about him.
yeah, probably. To address your question about about Jinx, though, I think Jinx is in a pretty healthy spot right now. I think maybe she is a little bit actually over-tuned when it comes to that perfect 6 rebel composition late game, with Gangplank really helping her reset and she's just popping off there. Her attack speeds and resets are extremely fast, AoE damage from the rockets and the blaster procs there. Especially when Jinx is able to be safe, protected by a little bit of the variance of positioning that players have figured out how to do nowadays. Especially also like Primal did last game, able to put RFC on the Jinx. She can just remain safe in the corner there. There's not things like voids that are jumping into the back line and threatening that Jinx. We see a lot less infiltrators now. Even with no infiltrator mech, we see Sorks go with mech. So Jinx being able to have that extra added safety there is huge in terms of her overall power level and effectiveness.
Yeah, that cornered safety, right? Once you can get someone safe in that corner, especially someone who can pump out as much damage over time, or DPS as Jinx can, that's definitely what you're going to be looking for. And man, you're already seeing how strong just a tier 1 Vayne is with a Last Whisper. Someone already has a tier 2 Vayne, because this tier 1 Vayne might potentially win at this round out. Oh no, a little bit too much damage on. Oh, maybe Last Whisper if he gets a crit. Oh,
they're gonna. Oh, no. The two main stuff is sitting there. Like, wait, what's happening? What's going on?
That was like a straight up duel from like the Western.
Actually,
yeah, it's like duel. I wonder how the game decides who wins that, because they both tumbled and came out in invisibility at the same time. We should ask more. I've not seen that before. That was funny.
I think the enemy Vayne tumbled a little bit earlier, but that's what came out of stealth earlier and auto, because they should auto at the same time. And but if they actually do tumble at the same time, I have no idea. It's probably just RNG.
Yeah, they just like looked at each other real quick, aggressive eye contact, and the draw. Bang bang, my friends. SleetTFT now, Cybernetic Vanguard, definitely moving into the cybernetic portion. And it's so funny, we talked about Jinx being so good even at the beginning of this lobby, but it seems to be going more cybernetics this time around on this lobby. A lot of people going after Vaynes, and that's almost bad for everybody when you already have someone with a tier 2 Vayne, and you got a couple other people trying to commit to a Vayne. It makes almost everyone else inherently weaker outside of the person who already stuck it, right?
Yep. Definitely. I mean, there's gonna be less Vaynes in the pool for everybody else to take. Although the reason I suppose, talking about Jinx, we're not seeing Jinxes so far is because it's pretty early in the game and she has a 4 cost. Generally, you can run cybernetics for your early game and transition into some brawlers and some Jinxes once you find that. It just comes down to when those are actually found. NeekyNooky, 3 gold right now, has a lot of rebels here. These rebels are probably not going to be played though. I think what should be played right now is any blaster that NeekyNooky finds. So I would actually opt to sell pretty much this whole bench here besides the Blitzcrank to make up to 20 gold now. I would definitely sell those Yasuos. Let's see what he decides to do, though. Okay, not the Yasuos, but everything else. Up to 20 gold. Either way, I think that's a good decision there by Neeky.
Mhm.
Needed to start making econ there. Rolled the free reroll. Unfortunately, did not find a blaster. So that red buff is going to be very low value for him right now. Hopefully, we'll be able to pick one up soon, though.
Yeah, and just to reiterate in terms of value, you want that red buff to go on the blasters because of that proc, and it applies all on hit effects. So you get
Yes.
the AOE. I like to call them utility blasters, right? When you have like
Mhm.
Swordbreaker, red buff on a blaster, just to get those kind of debuffs on the rest of the party. On the other side, that's a really really big deal. As the Blitzcranks both pull each other, love it when that happens. It's like that Spider-Man meme
Yeah.
that you see.
Definitely.
But I actually have really enjoyed the early games on this set more so than some other ones. Even though they do seem pretty consistent, they don't seem unfair. Comp doesn't seem unfair until until like the comps really start coming online, as opposed to the early game seems to be a little bit more interactive in terms of how players interact with their packs and each other and the scouting and the lobbies, where the transitions seem to be happening a little later in the game.
Yeah, definitely. Also going back to talking about the gold there that we saw NeekyNooky have, I looked over on the other side of thatsPRIMAL last round when he faced Neeky, and thatsPRIMAL barely made up to 10 gold and had an Irelia and a Jhin on the bench. So I'm actually curious, maybe after this round, or yeah, right now even, to take a look at Primal and see what route that he is going. Okay, so he had sold the Jhin. Is keeping the cybernetics on the bench though. We know how much thatsPRIMAL does like cybernetics, but look at his board right now, right? It's tier 2 Kog'Maw, tier 2 Lucian, a cybernetic, but also a tier 2 Blitzcrank. So it kind of is going a bit of both directions here. He is going to need to commit to one pretty soon, because being on round 3-2 and having 10 gold is really not good, especially when you're losing rounds. Not a good spot for thatsPRIMAL to be in.
So where do you think that gold is going towards? Just aggressive rolling, trying to hit some lucky 4 cost units, or is it
I mean,
just maybe some anxiety coming in and maybe pushing a little bit harder than you should?
it's not even aggressively rolling. I believe he's probably just rolling for the free roll every turn. It's just the investments that he's made. You know, a tier 2 Blitzcrank, tier 2 Cog, a tier 2 Lucian. That's already 6, 12, 18 gold right there. More upgraded units on the board. Has the bench with a lot of gold as well. You know, has the Irelia, has the Vayne, has like 10 gold or so on the bench. It's just a lot of not making econ early, and that's the problem that we talked about. We addressed
Mm,
going into this galaxy. You're not going to be making as much money, and the effects of that are seen very, very much so in Primal's case right now.
mhm.
Um, Moving towards Peeba, like Peeba's level 6, 20 gold. He's in a much better spot than Primal, I think, right now. Primal losing that round as well.
Ooh, and he wasn't doing that poorly earlier on, or else we'd see him on the bottom of the leaderboard, but maybe pushed a little aggressively, maybe landed on one of those 4 cost units and got a little excited. And that's the thing, though, when you do buy 4 cost unit that early on, it's taking a higher percentage away from your treasury, right? So you're going to really have to hope that if you do pick up that Jinx or Irelia, that you potentially can use it a little later or earlier on, because you want to be able to use that value, use that econ to the best of its ability. And if you're thatsPRIMAL right now, it's just making you poor, especially since it's just sitting on your bench.
Yep. It's man, I mean like that, yeah, that's Primal doesn't have that low of HP right now. You know, Jakey Boy is very, very low right now. Might want to check in, see what he's up to soon. But that's Primal. Wasn't even able to get a good pick on this carousel. Is able to get a sword for Deathblade, perhaps, and it's not going to be it's not going to be too bad. Ooh, a few Nautiluses here. Is he gonna make that? Yeah. So that's probably just like he's just playing what he hits, and I'm just not sure that that's going to be exactly enough for him.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I mean we know where he's at
He
right now.
has Yeah, he has
But
a little bit of time sitting at 75 HP, but I mean, like a little bit meaning like after this NPC round, he's got to figure out where he's going, or else he's just going to be waffling through the late game. And I don't remember the last time I've seen a
oh
player at
man,
this point in time in Fight Night Rising take this long to actually get things going. And there has been an argument, especially with the sellback changes, that maybe the skill expression is a little bit lower because you can just use high tier tier 2 units and get them on the field and win. But right now, that's Primal showing us that that's not the case. Even though he does have some stronger units, it's not necessarily taking him the win. But like you said, Jakey Boy sitting at the bottom of the leaderboard right now has a good amount of gold. Did end up winning that last round. We're going to be seeing some Astro snipers here as we get our first look at Teemo, who was very popular last week. But this is our first view of our little Yordle today.
yeah, I think Teemo in this sniper composition is very good. I think four snipers. Originally, I dismissed it as not being a very good comp, but I was unfortunately wrong. But fortunately, because I like the fact when I'm wrong and I learn things here, and I think that Teemo and Jhin are very, very good. You have sufficient frontline where you're able to hit Wukong 2, Nautilus 2, and Gnar 2. Having Karma in there to buff either the Jhin or the Teemo, depending. But Jhin kind of does a decent amount of damage just on his own without any items. And when you itemize your frontline for your Gnar and have Teemo pumping out damage, unfortunately got hooked by Blitzcrank there, so can't do enough. But Teemo's a pretty good unit. Pretty good unit overall. Jakey Boy does need to find the tier 2 version of Teemo and tier 2 Jhin and find a Gnar to replace this Bard.
That's it. That's all he's
So,
got to do.
yeah. Oh, Gnar here
Oh,
actually.
he's got the Gnar with the free rerolls. Let's see
Yeah.
if he's going to use it before the end of this NPC round. Might as well, you got your free reroll. You're not going to be using any of those in that pack.
Yeah, I think Jakey Boy from here probably puts Naren over the Bard. I mean, levels up to 7 and just aggressively rolls. Like, I would actually roll down to 0 on 4-1, and I actually want to stay on Jakey Boy's perspective for this whole next preparation phase to really see what he wants to do. I don't think maybe a little overcritical, but I think Jakey Boy, I want to see him make a lot of different decisions in the last game, so I want to see him make those decisions right now, the ones where he's 36 HP directly after infiltrators, so he needs to roll here to stabilize. Goes to level 7, needs to start rolling, but instead he purchases XP and goes to level 8. I don't know if that's going to be what he needs, but it's a decision that he made, so he will live or die by that decision here. Probably will go to 8 at 4-3.
I just think at 36 HP, there's got to be a number in your head, right? Where you're like, all right, if I drop below this number, I'm just going to spend all my gold, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to do what I believe is the highest percentage play. Yeah, you might get 1 or 2 more rounds, but I think that becomes a little bit more valuable now versus a little bit later, right? You want 36 HP. I mean, you want 36 HP in 5 rounds, not 18 HP where you might lose in just 1 a little bit on the late game. He's going to lose here anyway, which was expected based off of I think how you were talking about it. And now he's got an even, I think, tougher decision. I think it was an easy decision to potentially, all right, roll my gold down. I had 50. Now at level 7, now like the whisper in the person in your ears, like, oh, do I level? Do I get more people on? It's desperation time. I've got 61 gold. I don't really like rolling, but I might not get another opportunity to. And you said, oh, he needs the Jhin, he needs the Teemo, he needs the Gnar. He needs so much stuff. He needs to be pushing that, I think, from here on out. And even just messing with items right now is not, I think, akin to some perfect gameplay from Jakey Boy.
I'm actually so confused. Does Jakey Boy purchase XP, then rolled the free reroll, then rolled once more? So, I don't know. I'm just pretty confused by Jakey Boy's decision making here. I think either needs to commit full one way or another. The thing about going to level 8 with this composition is that you don't really need to until you're stabilized. Like, the point of this composition is to have the 3 Astros, 2 Vanguards, and the 4 Snipers, and you can have all of those in on level 7 with your 4 snipers and your 3 frontliners, the Wukong, the Gnar, and the Nautilus. And now Jakey Boy is at 12 HP on stage 4, even before the stage 4 carousel here, rolling and definitely needs to either roll down or level up right now. Like there's no doubt about it, but is deciding to roll a little bit, not leveling either, which I thought he was saving up for, but does not decide to do that. Doing it pretty slow though. I don't even know if
10 seconds remain. That's it. Yeah. Oh no.
But yeah, isn't hitting anything on these rolls. There's a Jhin. Is rolling. Okay, found the 2-2 Gnar. Okay, Jakey Boy decided to roll towards the end there. That is good. I think the good decision to make.
giving us a heart
Okie
attack.
abuser, level 8, and kind of just has a stronger version of JakeyBoy's comp here, I think. With the Jin 2 definitely the
Unfortunate.
left in the back. The Gnar not even having backline access there.
Oof.
And yeah, the Jin is just going to be tearing JakeyBoy's
I
composition apart.
wonder I wonder how long DuoCube user has had these units,
Yeah.
because, like, maybe Jakey Boy is like, "Alright, DuoCube user has these units, even if I roll, I'm not gonna hit him, blah, blah, blah." But DuoCube user might have had a very similar kind of decision he had to make, right? He's doing a little bit better in terms of economy because he's doing better in terms of life points right now, but he has the Gen 2, he has a better version of that comp, and I can't help but wonder if Jakey Boy just rolled 2 rounds ago, if he actually might be in a similar position. We will never
I
know,
think yeah.
but
I think if JakeyBoy rolled down all or nearly all of his gold on level 7, on 4-1, would have been not on 4 HP right now. Probably would have hit a Teemo, a Wukong, a Gnar, something like that. Been in a not a great spot, but definitely a better spot than he is right now, and may have even been able to get a top 4 in this lobby if he high rolled there.
So now he's sitting at 4 HP. Again, if you were to re-roll, he was at 36 HP. He could even take a couple more losses, as that's the one character he doesn't need right now on his bench. Picking up a Gnar, getting rid of it for other people. Right now, the most important is the Teemo. He does land on it. Now is the time to roll. He waited until the very last second, and now he needs to be perfect from here on out to try to make it into the top 4 or compete for the top of the lobby. He's going to go ahead and sell a couple of those Gnars as well, maybe a second Teemo, but right now not picking up everything that he needs, but at least that Teemo 2 is online for him. We'll definitely see how much damage he is going to be doing, and it's going to be quite a bit, my friends, as the blue buff along with the Ludens is going to spread around the love, and it looks like he may have been able to stabilize because he rolled. Again, the question's not, oh, he stabilized here. It was, could he have done this earlier? I think the answer is still yes. He'd be in a more comfortable position, but he's winning now, and that's all that matters for Jakey Boy.
Definitely he is winning now. Hopefully we'll be able to do that, and I don't know if top 4 is achievable anymore, but perhaps go for like a top 6 play. And sometimes in tournament, that's what you got to play for. You got to play for, just not 8th. I mean, getting 2 points more than getting 1 point, and that is pretty relevant in a tournament situation like this. But moving away from Jakey Boy, looking towards the opposite side of the HP standings right now, we're going to see Duo Abuser with the 4 Sniper, 3 Astro composition. Went to level 8, so is able to have 2 Celestials. That Ash paired with that Xin Xiao for that synergy right now. Going up against Sleet. Ooh, Sleet has those cybernetics once again, but is pretty low though, 21 HP currently.
Potentially 2 losses for Sleet means no more time in TFT for him, and the Lucian's going to be in at the back line. Nice Gnar ult goes into the Cosmic or Celestial Arrow from that Ash, and that Ash looking quite good right now as the Jin's going to finish things off. Sleet goes
Yeah.
down. He is going to be hitting at 13 HP as Jakey Boy gets another victory there at the bottom of the standings, and our top 2 looking pretty good. Look at the HP difference, Khroen. Pretty intense.
Yeah. This lobby is an insane HP differential. Once Sleet clicks on that right here, yeah, we get to see it a little bit more. Duo Q Abuser 90. LeeRandomly, a player we haven't talked about too much yet, at 90. And then I believe that is Gunmay at 38 HP. Gonna be looking at LeeRandomly here soon. See what Sleet drops from these Arc Raptors, though. Gonna be a couple items there, the belt, vest, and the sword on the bench. See what is committed to right now. Could red buff maybe? Could GA? We'll see. Lee. Rebel Spat with a Jinx 2. Yeah, Jinx 2. Going to have... Not a great item here, actually. I was looking at it, I was like, oh, okay, a glove. That's gonna be something really good for the Jinx. But unfortunately, it's not really going to be. There's already a defensive item there, so...
Yeah. But maybe for the second Jinx, he only needs 2 more Jinxes for that tier 3 Jinx, and at this point, I would 100% tunnel for this tier 3 Jinx, because tier 3 Jinx is one of those units that's like, all right, the only other unit that can kill me is another tier 3 forecast unit. So it definitely locks him in, and having 2 Jinxes at this point with the Rebel Shield, not that terrible, as Jakey Boy is going to be on the other side this time. He gets another tier on it, that Teemo, who is absolutely destroying the front line of of LeeRandomly right now, and the ASOL unable to get out of the corner either. And JakeyBoyCoffman absolutely destroying LeeRandomly at the top of the standings. He's now sitting at a 3-game win streak, but at 72 HP, LeeRandomly has pretty much solidified himself a top 4 finish just based off of HP totals and attrition, with DuoQ Abuser at the top of the standings in a very similar position. Now it's all about who will be getting that 4th and 3rd spot. We're sitting with Gunmay in a 3rd place right now, running 7 Star Guardians. 6 wasn't enough.
Yeah, 2 Star Guardians spat there from Gunmay here, and I mean, 3 loss streaks not working out too much or too well here. But I do want to take a second actually and talk more about LeeRandomly there, why his HP was so high and why he seemed so weak in that last fight. Just real quick, LeeRandomly only has 1 offensive item on the Jinx. It was a Giant Slayer. He slammed it early. Unfortunately, was not able to get a second DPS item. So the Jinx, while having a second Jinx 2 in there is good, the first Jinx still does no damage. So LeeRandomly probably just played for a top 4 here and probably will get a top 4, especially if he's able to hit Jinx 3, but just unfortunate that the items didn't really pan out because carousels weren't able to get the good items because he just had so high HP early on.
Interesting. It's that catch-22, right, of being on the top of the standings at Carousel. The 8th place member of the lobby might pick up that fawn, might pick up that item that you need and then die in that very next round anyway. So you're definitely getting some consequences for being at the top, but that is the inherent comeback mechanic that Mort and the rest of the TFT team has put into the game to help us in 8th place, just like me, top 8 master right here, to try to get back onto the top. As we're going to level to 9, and we got 8 Star Guardians.
So I think if Gunmay finds Janna, Gunmay will have 9 Star Guardians. That will be a real achievable thing here in this lobby. You'll probably sell the Aurelion Soul or the Jace, throw that extra spat onto the Annie, and I don't think I've ever seen 9 Star Guardians in the lobby, so this may be a first. Seemingly, I mean, 8's not good enough, as we see here.
8 Star Guardians, not that great so far, especially against the snipers onto the other side. Just so squishy, but I think that's what Janna should help with, is the tornadoes, pushing them into the sky, giving them some time to actually do something, get to those spells, let that Star Guardian synergy actually work, as opposed to just get bursted down right away. No Janna onto the carousel so far, but I appreciate Gunmay's moxie. You know, that's definitely a word I like to say with someone who maybe might not be making the correct decision, but is doing it for the rest of us. And I think that 9 Star Guardian might be one of those things. I'm not sure 9 Star Guardian, while it would be an accomplishment, is actually a winning, viable composition still.
Yeah, I'm not so sure either. We also had a couple of players fall. JakeyBoy unfortunately did 8th place, so waiting to roll down did not help out there. Peeba fell in 7th, and that's Primal, one of the top 3 from last lobby, on 1 hit until death here. That is a Thresh 2, pulling in Urgots, so that's going to be pretty strong. Not able to find the Irelia, though, so yeah, just sells those and is going to really just rely on Urgots right now. It is Urgot fight tactics for thatsPRIMAL currently.
Oh, he must have gone into cybernetics way late. He was able to find a victory on that last go round, but tier 1 Fiora, tier 1 Irelia, that's not going to be super helpful, as we got some Blade Masters and Blasters on the other side. We got that Jinx with that Giant Slayer absolutely ripping through thatsPRIMAL, and your prediction rings true. You said thatsPRIMAL might struggle a little bit with a little bit more of an aggressive type of lobby, and he finishes outside the top 4 for the first, I think, for only the second time in the last 2 weeks. Gunmay unable to finish off 9 Star Guardians. Maybe he was, but still ends up in 6th place anyway. But now we're here at the top 4. We got SleetTFT, who's had a great showing so far. We've got NeekyNooky in 3rd. We have got LeeRandomly in 2nd, and DuoQ Abuser still sitting at 1st place. If I were to say, if someone comes in as like a new star so far who's impressed me a lot since I've been casting with you, Khroen, it's definitely been DuoQ Abuser, a guy that I don't think either of us really knew anything about, had 9 followers on Twitter the last time I checked last week, and has absolutely just come onto the scene and shows that he belongs. And I love it when players like that happen. And hopefully we all follow him a little bit longer, because to show up in 2 weeks like this and perform as consistently as he has is a really, really big deal.
Yeah, definitely a known of Duo-Q Abuser just from solo queue from ladder. Was a pretty good player there, but now in more tournament play and Duo-Q Abuser participating in these fight nights is really able to show that and be able to look at it in a more analytical light and really see exactly how he's doing so well, how he's playing so well, and we see that right now. How well he was able to play the moments or the timings that he rolled down to find those Jins and find those Teemos. It's a little bit like opposite side of Jakey Boy. Jakey Boy went eighth, didn't really needed to, but Duo-Q Abuser kind of did. Was actually able to find a Nico from this Kane round as well, and has 20 gold to roll down with. So we could actually even see a world where Duo-Q Abuser finds Jin 3 and Teemo 3, as there's already a couple of Teemos on the bench as well. Heck, let's make it a Nar 3. Nah, skipping the Nars though.
Maybe
But
not
yeah,
anymore. You spoke a little too soon. Sell it for, oh, decides to go past the Fizz.
yeah.
Wants to get those Teemos and those Jins, has the Nikos, unable to find either one of them. But this board is full of just good units. The Xin Zhao is still at tier 1, but that's only for that Celestial trait, as we do get a tier 3 Jin.
We do. The Nikos was used on it, and now Duo-Q Abuser facing NeekyNooky with that Jinx in the backline. She has already transformed. It's already
Eat.
starting to pop off, but Jin will just, not one hit the Jinx, but the Teemo was able to take it out, though. Oh my gosh, that was so close. NeekyNooky drops in fourth there. Wow.
One of Jin's crits, I think, did 20k damage.
Oh, yeah,
No
that's Jin
one.
3. On this fourth shot, it will one-shot anything.
Urgot is the problem. No, Gen 3 needs to be looked at, friends. Same thing.
Hey, Urgot 1 can one-shot Jin 3, so I mean, he's the real winner.
I know, right? Perception. But anyway, SleetTFT is going to be in at third, as NeekyNooky does fall by the wayside because of that Gen 3. Was a lot closer than I had anticipated, especially with the Gen 3 on the other side. But again, that crit only happens on that fourth shot. But Gen 3 is going to be a tough nut to crack, as Duo-Q Abuser, LeeRandomly, and SleetTFT round out the top three. We've got Irelia, a tier 2 Irelia in the front line, trying their best, but right now has been CC'd to oblivion, has only gotten 2 of her ultimates off, and the Gnar got her, but too little damage, not enough aggro on the Irelia just yet. Does fall in the end, but the Vayne in the backline is enough to take down Duo-Q Abuser, as Sleet is going to be the one on fire moving through, as LeeRandomly loses that last one, as we get a Jinx 3.
Wow, okay, very interesting actually. So LeeRandomly had a decision there if he wanted to keep giantslayer plus last whisper on the Jinx in RNG, the third item, whether it be GA last or GA giantslayer or QSS, but decided to keep the giantslayer GA QSS on the Jinx there and swap those other items over to Ezreal and Aurelion Soul there. I'm gonna check that out, discuss it more after, but Duo-Q Abuser going up against LeeRandomly here. Jin 3 versus Jinx 3. Which one will prevail?
All right, we got Jay versus Jay, my friends. So far, the Jinx and the Jin very, very safe in the back line, but I'm going to give it to Jin. It's easy to say when it's 3v1, but the end game here is that LeeRandomly will be finishing in third place. So this is going to be Duo-Q Abuser versus Sleet until the very end. We got SleetTFT at 13 HP. That's pretty much just one loss for him. Duo-Q Abuser has about 3 that he can go through. Some good items. Trap Claw on Urgot's a pretty good item on any carry. Urgot can use that Trap Claw pretty well, especially if he gets aggroed at the beginning of a round. Let's see what they're going to go ahead and do here. Is we still have 6 cybernetics for SleetTFT online. Urgot on the bench. No Thresh though to pull in that Urgot, and no money either for SleetTFT. Duo-Q Abuser is still looking like that Jin will be pasted in the corner there.
Yeah, this potentially could be the last fight of the game here. SleetTFT versus Duo-Q Abuser. Boop, walk us through it here.
And so Duo-Q Abuser versus SleetTFT could be the last round for SleetTFT. Will his cybernetics be able to take down the Jin on the other side? The Vi is going to get trap clawed. The Jin is low, and the cybernetics have done their job. Not even close, Khroen, as Duo-Q Abuser will take another loss to SleetTFT, who I think has been one of the only people who have been able to beat him in this lobby so far. But man, Trade Sector giving us some good tier 3 4 cost units. Khroen, you're going to get this next one, my friend. Sleet at 13, DuoCube user at 39. Who's it going to be?
Yeah, I mean, we saw how good Echo was in that last fight, dropping Jin pretty low, if not, fully nearly killing him outright. Going to be swapping around positioning is SleetTFT here. The Echo was not going to be able to be moved in time, but Echo jumps onto the Caitlyn and the Teemo in the back. Fiora tanking the Jin for a little bit while, but the Echo goes off here. Jin still pretty healthy. Irelia, though, dashing around, dashes onto the Jin. The Jin, though, takes out Irelia and heals to full at the exact same time, but the Vayne ticks out. This is so back and forth, but the Caitlyn snipe from DuoQ Abuser cleans it up, and we have DuoQ Abuser taking that
Wow.
lobby with there. Man, those fights were real intense there, back and forth.
Yeah, man. That Jin healing the full twice was unexpected, to say the least. Twice on Death's Door, and twice we're able to walk right through it, no problem. It's so good, these last two lobbies, and that's something about the set so far. Since we've been casting it, I think the lobbies have been pretty strong in general. Cybernetics showing itself off in the last two there, but we got SleetTFT, DuoQ Abuser, and Gunmay in the top 3 spots. We got a tie, though, for our first 2 spots between SleetTFT and DuoQ Abuser, with thatsPRIMAL sitting in 4th place, our defending champ.
Yeah, NeekyNooky at 10, LeeRandomly at 9, and Peeba, I believe, 5, and JakeyBoy at 2 points. Yep, didn't memorize that, but we take a look at it once again. A little bit of a surprise for Gunmay. I think that's the first game in such a long time that Gunmay didn't top 4 game number 2 of Fight Night. I can't actually remember the last time that occurred. A little bit uncharacteristic there. You're talking about how the Star Guardians were a bit, fun, maybe not good, but Gunmay's definitely been playing recently as trying to, be as consistent, be as good as possible. So Gunmay definitely thought that was the best course of action for that game. Maybe felt a little trapped into going that route, maybe forcing that route because he had such an early Star Guardian spat. But either way, it didn't work out for him. So Gunmay has his work cut out for him if he wants to be victorious. Primal as well. Not having a bad start, but not having an amazing start. Definitely not as dominant as he was last week here. DuoQ Abuser, though, definitely a good start for him, as well as Sleet.
Yeah, got to give it to Sleet coming in. DuoQ Abuser, same kind of thing. After last week, a new guy on campus comes in, tied for number 1 in the leaderboard. You got to give props to that kind of player to be able to come in and be that kind of consistent, especially newer on to the scene. You said you saw him on ladder, but the big thing here is that in these competitive atmospheres, we talked about it at the very beginning, it's totally different. This is a different world in terms of what is good, what is consistent, what can be considered high level play, and I think DuoQ Abuser definitely representing that. But before we go to halftime, anything you want to say, Mr. Khroen, in terms of what you're seeing so far in the lobbies and about the set in general?
Oh man, ooh, very very open-ended there. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of standard stuff right now. There's not too much that surprises me right now. We've seen Cybernetics in the top 2 a couple times. Vanguard Mystics took a lobby. Snipers, hitting Chin 3 reroll lobby. I mean, reroll or trade sector rather. It's pretty standard stuff, but I'm liking how some of these players are playing it, and I want to see other players, JakeyBoy, maybe play a bit differently, change it up. Going double 8th, that's definitely a bit of a blow there, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to make it into the top 3, but at least just try to have a bit of a better performance going into games 3 and 4. But for now, we will be going on just a quick 5-minute break before we return with more Fight Night Rising action. Don't go anywhere. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's Fight Night Rising action. We have had some close lobbies thus far, with two competitors rising to the top at halftime with SleetTFT and DuoQ Abuser, but we still got two more games to go, so nothing is decided yet. Boop, how have you been enjoying the game so far?
Oh man, I said it before the break. I've been enjoying this sets game so much. They seem so close, even when they aren't to start. Right? We had a couple lobbies where the top two players had kind of a substantial lead, but in this set, it seems like all right, things can change. You hit the right item, you get the right positioning. Right? We saw just how moving Jin from one corner to the other to counter the positioning of Sleet on the other side from Duo Q Abuser can matter so much. Can be the difference between winning a lobby and potentially losing a bunch of rounds in a row, which it looked like DOQ Abuser was about to do, but he was able to call the positioning out and win out that lobby with a Jin 3 in the backline. We thought in Trade Sector that we'd get a couple tier 3-4 cost units, and we got to see a couple Jin. We got to see Jinx, though, from LeeRandomly as well, but there was a little bit of an issue with his items, Khroen, there. Could have been a little bit better for him.
Yeah, I think so. I said it earlier. During the game, I think that LeeRandomly played really well for the early game, and slaying that Giant Slayer I think is fine. And he was at 90 HP, tied with who else was it at the time? I don't actually remember, but he was 90 HP, like top of the lobby. Because he had played with slamming those items. The problem is later on in the game, you're not really going to do much damage with one Giant Slayer Jinx. It is a Jinx 3, but he had the opportunity to put that Jinx on the bench, put the other Jinx onto the board with the last Whisper Giant Slayer, and then RNG the third item. It could have been two Giant Slayers, it could have been a GA or a QSS, but I think all of those options actually were going to be better than just keeping the three items that he ended up with. Going to game number 3 right now, but just to finish off that point, Jinx is going to just need the reset and then she'll pop off. Her rocket damage at tier 3 is so strong. So in shredding the armor of the couple of vanguards that the sniper Astro comp has and getting those resets, I think Jinx is way more likely to win that fight there. So I mean, you have to make that decision very quickly, and LeeRandomly did choose not swap items over, but hard to fault you for that. But I think it's a sort of like hindsight thing. It's a
Yeah.
little thing that can make a big difference like that.
Uh, it's a little it's really interesting because I think that those are the types of the decisions that are like the difference between like an 8 out of 10 and a 9 out of 10,
Yeah,
right? Uh,
definitely, exactly that.
it's not like we're talking about it in terms of, oh, what a terrible decision. You could have done this and won. No, it's really like we're being pretty nitpicky when it comes to situations like that. Because when you find yourself in a position where you're sitting at so much HP, your mind has to be thinking on how to maintain that position, right?
Yeah.
And maybe the thinking wasn't as clear. But again, we're talking about the difference between an 8 and 8.5 and a 9. But the difference between an 8 and a 9 is also the difference between winning a lobby and potentially finishing in 4th or 5th, too.
Yeah.
So those very small decisions, it's funny. You might make the right decision 99% of the time throughout the rest of the lobby, and you make that one wrong decision on potentially itemization on that Jinx, based off of your HP, based off of everything else, that you find yourself kind of avalanching down towards the bottom of the leaderboard, and that's kind of what we saw happen. Unfortunately for LeeRandomly, but seeing a Jinx 3 is cool, but unfortunately for him, it could have been even cooler.
Could have been even cooler, and hopefully will be cool this game for the players who do decide to go for Jinx. It's man, it's just like it's just it feels bad when you play a Jinx with only one Giant Slayer as an offensive item, especially in this meta where Vanguards are so prevalent and people are always
Mhm.
rushing to go last Whispers. Gunmay here, okay, no deja vu this time, does not start with a Ziggs tier, but has a TF belt.
TF, one of the best item holders in the game, maybe that's ever been in the game. I think like set one Fiora is like the other one that I think of in terms of someone who's good at holding items. The thing about TF though is he can hold AD or AP items depending on which direction you want to go. Oh, and some good champions decides to go and buy the whole pack, find some money in those orbs. Will be
Yeah.
selling some of those units back just to try to econ on these first PvP rounds. But in this non-galaxy lobby, thatsPRIMAL might be feeling a little bit better. One of the more impressive things I thought that I've seen you do is predict that thatsPRIMAL might struggle struggle a little bit in a faster paced game, and now the pace is going to be inherently a little slower on this regular lobby, he might be finding himself a little bit more success. He used to be falling into those cybernetics pretty frequently. When is it time to kind of just admit to yourself that you might be a cybernetics player? You know, like, because that could be a little
Dude.
bit of an issue. Like for me, there's a point where it was like, back in old sets where I was a ranger player, and I had to like admit myself that I was that boring. But cybernetics not that way. I'm making fun of myself, but maybe for that's primal as someone who has played cybernetics on almost every lobby so far, it could just be good in this situation to try to go for it earlier on too.
Yeah, I mean, if the cybernetics do fall into your lap, like, I mean, Bets Primal has a couple of them here. If he finds a Lucian, definitely can justify selling the Kog'Maw there. I guess I predict the future. I don't know. That's a Lucian on the shop there for That's Primal. What I think I want to see happen here is leveling up to level 4. Oh, no, actually. Oh, interesting. So that's Primal. Maybe not as much of a cybernetics player as we might have thought. Selling the Leona there is going to go to 4 and play 2 Brawler plus 2 Battlecaster plus 2 Blaster. Or not level up at all? Okay, not level up at all, actually. A little bit too over eager there, I suppose. I
Got a
was.
little
I
excited,
think,
yeah.
yeah, I actually think that's Primal. That's very, very telling of the fact that he is not a Cybernetics player. He is a Jinx player because this route screams Jinx.
Mm.
Have a Kog'Maw as the item carrier, and then to transition into a Jinx later, selling those Vanguards but keeping the Malphites like that. That's so telling of where that's Primal's mental is at. And I think even a bit too telling because I think this is a much weaker start, weaker board. It's a bit harder to transition as well or as easily from cybernetics into a jinx later, but it is possible. But the fact that that's primal is not even willing to do that at all and will play a weaker board right now is a little bit telling, if not concerning, in my opinion, for that's primal.
Is that information, do you think some other players might be using? Because I think at these early stages, scouting might have a differing value to certain players. But if you were scouting out that's Primal and you saw this on the board, does that affect your decision making at all? Or are you waiting until later game states to really have that influence your decision making?
Yeah, no, I mean, we can only process so much information so quickly.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think I would have been able to in-game scout that's problem, be like, okay, he had the option for cybers, but he sold them. Like, I would be more concerned about what I'm going right now.
Yeah.
So I really wouldn't take too much account into that until later on into the game. But this is something that, like, going back into like the VODs or watching, and we have the privilege of looking at it as casters and being
Mhm.
able to analyze it. We can see that very, very clearly here, and so can the viewers right now as to, that's primal. It goes up against level 5 Tuki abuse right now, level 5 before the stage 2 carousel, and that's primal already 78, below 80 HP before the stage 2 carousel. Like, that's so insanely low. He's gonna be making some econ here, making some gold, but I think not going cybers there was pretty confident to say that was a mistake.
Hmm.
Can he recover though is going to be the question.
And if there's a player that is going to be able to, I think that's Primal is
Yeah.
one that I would bet on being able to recover. It depends on, again, if he's got a little bit of that decision paralysis like he did on trade sector last time around on lobby 2. It might not happen, so we're seeing a little bit more of a little bit of scuffed armor right now, and that's primal, who had an amazing day last week, finishing I think 2-1 to 8th or something along those
Yeah.
lines. This time around needing to fight a little bit harder, and this is a fight that he has not had to do since last week, so I'm actually really looking forward to how that's primal is going to deal with the situation and to see how he does fight from the bottom of the leaderboard. Because again, if there's going to be anyone who's going to be able to go from the bottom and get to the top, it's going to be that's primal. Jakey Boy also having a couple interesting plays, some unique decision making. A little earlier on, that was never able to complete 6 sorcerers on his first lobby. On his second one, was just outpaced by Duo Q Abuser on the team comp. This time around, a little bit more of a traditional start. We got blue buff on a Nico, maybe just holding on to that blue
Mm.
buff. Not the worst unit ever. AoE damage this early on is pretty nice. It's not that much, but it's good to spread the love a little bit. What are your feelings so far?
Yeah, so a couple things I want to talk about right now, but first let's start with Jakey Boy. I think I like this direction a lot. Jakey Boy has the blue buff start here, has the Rud, has the Nautilus too. If there's not a start that just screams go Vanguard Mystics, go Cassiopeia, I mean it is this one right now. And it's a pretty when you have this direction, it's pretty easy to pilot. And I think if Jakey Boy is going to have a good placement, it is going to be in this game. Maybe he low rolls, but that's it happens sometimes. But this direction is very very good for Jakey Boy. Also, on the other hand, though, if we can take a quick look at Gunmay, he had the start for a very 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 promising six Blade Master composition here. Already has one Ginsu's, an extra bow, has a Yasuo too, has the BMs on the bench and on the board with Shen, with Xayah as well, and the Zed that this composition likes to go as well. So I think we will be seeing our first game of the night of a six Blade Master game.
Oh, it took 4 lobbies last time and actually almost won the lobby. One of the better counters to the ASL that we saw last
Oh
week.
yeah, true.
Especially if the ASL gets targeted by any one of the Blade Masters, right? He's going to get bursted down, no problem. Doesn't matter what Bramble Vest or defensive items you have, just too much damage goes on. So I think 6 Blade Masters definitely has its place, but it's also not the beefiest of comps. So in terms of the rock, paper, scissors, what are you gaining from the Blade Masters and what are you kind of giving up by running this comp?
Well, it's going to be really risky. If you don't hit Master Yi 3 on pace, and by on pace, it's maybe a little bit after Raptors, Arc Raptors usually. If you're not hitting E3 or close to E3 at that point, and you didn't have a good early game, you're going to be within threat of going bottom 4 and maybe even like bottom 8. It's that much of a inconsistent or volatile sort of
Mm.
composition here. Gunmay has a good start here, has the Rebels, has a Yasuo too.
Oh.
Doesn't have any Yees yet though. Has some gold there and some items. Those items are
Yeah.
not bad. I actually do really like slamming Zeke's onto the Yasuo, having that bow be a RFC and having that glove be a Quicksilver for the Yi. So I think items are pretty on par, on pace right now
Hmm.
for Gunmay.
I
So I
love
think
watching
he's in a
Gunmay.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah, he's going to be the one that brings these comps, right? He's going to be the one also challenging some other members of the lobby to bring some of these comps as well. He's the last person to ever win a lobby on Giant Slayer TV with Space Jam, and that will
True.
always have a special place in my heart. And Gunmay is gonna have the cojones right now to run this Blade Master comp. Not quite there just yet. You're like, oh, it's not Blade Master just yet. The synergy's not even online. It's gonna get there, friends.
Oh
We
yeah.
got Zeke's, we've got the Rage Blade, and we're probably going to get an RFC. The items just, spelling it out a little bit too good for him. Basically, in the Blade Master book, this is what's in it. And having that early Yasuo too is going to help him get
Yeah.
through a potential harder early game. One of, I think, the more undervalued units. I think a good unit in some of the not as good comps that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, Yasuo too one-shot the Jinx there from NeekyNooky. If that hadn't happened, the Jinx might have popped off and won the round, but the Yasuo kind of randomness feel as he targets the furthest unit in his attack range, which, I mean, that seems a little wonky sometimes, but that's the Yasuo effect, and exactly as you said, the Yasuo too being able to stabilize a little bit of this early game, but I'm looking at thatsPRIMAL there with a Jin 2 that he found. I'm gonna check it out in a little bit after this round here from Sleet. But Sleet's in a really good spot right now, I think. A little bit low, but has Illusion 2, good item carrier. Unfortunately, the Shen did Shen things there, blocked a lot of that damage, and the Jinx reset pretty quickly. NeekyNooky is strong. thatsPRIMAL actually lost that round though, and he's pretty low once again, 58 HP.
Woo!
Um,
I mean, that's accelerated HP loss there. 50 HP. I mean,
yeah,
like 67 is moderately low for Peeba, let alone 58 for that's Primal. And he gets the Gen 2, no items on him just yet. And I think positioning is going to be very, very important for this Gen 2 as we're transitioning into some Vanguards just to keep this Gen alive for a little bit longer. Vanguards do spread the love when it comes to their synergy. So now it's going to be all about protecting this Gen. And we're going wholesale swaps right now.
man. This I have a lot of thoughts about this. That's Primal. The position that he's in right now, it's an awkward one. It is one
Oh
that
no.
the Jhin is now in the back line. He puts the red buff on the Jhin, so he committed to going Jinx with the red buff make. He committed to not going Cybers. He rolled it down on level 6 at 3-2 because he dropped so low. Committed that Jhin, rolled down for another sniper, did not hit the sniper, and is forced to place the red buff on the Jhin, which is not a good item holder for that. And it takes away a belt from going Morello's on the Teemo. It's man, it's just such an oof right now for that's Primal's position there. Even the icing on the cake is not positioning as well as he needed to that last fight, and getting that Jhin hooked in at the beginning, and then Caitlyn was able
Mhm.
to just freely snipe it.
I'm not
Ah,
sure he quite knows. Remember the decision process we were talking about earlier? I think we're actually here. I'm not sure he quite actually knows how to pilot this. It's like, when you drive someone else's car, you can still drive, but it just feels weird. The brake is a little different, the gas is a little different, the turning radius, all that's just slightly off. And I feel like he's kind of in like that same position. Like he knows what car he's driving, but it just feels a little different than what he's used to, potentially with that cybernetics
yeah.
comp has brought him so much success already. And the times he hasn't run it are the times he's finished out of the top four. So just some food for thought there for
Yeah.
that's primal. Sitting at 51 HP though. He's not losing these rounds. He is losing at these rounds pretty poorly. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of room to work with right now.
No, he doesn't. I guess continuing a little bit on that analogy, it's like he's just stubbornly thinking that it is still like his own car that he's driving, not recognizing that it is somebody else's. And I say that because he had other options presented to him, but just kind of like ignored them. But now is forced to be like, okay, this is not my own car. This is a Jin 2 with a red buff right now, and that's the scenario I found myself in. But it is still not strong enough to win these rounds as he drops to 44 HP. With one round to go before infiltrators, it's not even like he's econing up as well. Like he's rolled down a lot of gold, still losing, is not in a strong spot, and can't even go to level 7 with that much gold to roll down with after the infiltrators.
So when you find a player in this spot, I think for us today, that's primal. I think for this situation, it's more on the side of that's primal than say bad luck. For example, when you find a player in this position, how often is it because of some that you have made on round 3-1 versus 3-6 right now, versus maybe just some bad RNG because he made some decisions to get here right now. But
Yeah.
in the end, sometimes RNG isn't on your side. The heart's not in the cards, but I wanted to say that here because that's not the case this time around, right?
Yeah, I
There
mean,
were some very intentional decisions that were made by that primal that have brought him to this exact point.
yeah, I mean, there's a reason why some players like, Gunmay are able to be so consistent, plays well every week, and come back every single week. And that's Primal. While he has had a couple of good weeks, I think it's shaping out for it to be a little bit shaky right now. And I think that does come down exactly to what you said there, the decision making. I don't think it's and maybe I'm being like a little bit overly critical. I feel like I am a little bit, but I kind of expected that's Primal to play
Mhm.
this a little bit better, and being able to be in the back seat right now and analyzing it. I can more readily see that. Obviously, being in game, it's a little bit less forgiving, and you have to make those decisions in real time while scouting everybody else and trying to play as well as you can to preserve HP, play for higher placement, things like that. But it's definitely a different sort of play style, different result than what I expected to see for that's Primal. He is going level 7 and rolling down right now, but we do see Peeba in a spot to go fast 8. He is level 7, 59 gold right now, has a couple of Cassiopeias. Actually, interestingly enough, put the belt on the Jace right there. If he does go to Cassiopeia, he does want that to be Morello's and RFC. So you don't really want to be selling the Jace though. So I don't know if I quite agree with that. If he is committing to Cassiopeia, If
I
he is
think a couple of our
getting
players a little frustrated right now. I don't know if you
maybe.
saw Peeba throw his hands up there. It's hard not to like kind of get yourself in a headspace that's like, ah, whatever, right? Like I'm in a
Yeah.
position where like this doesn't matter, but it does, right? And he does end up winning, and he seems a little surprised, to be honest with you. The Badger fan, the Wisconsin Badger fan, that is Peeba. And now we're going over to NeekyNooky, who is having a little bit of a nicer time. Get it?
Ye-
So we've got Deathblade on Jinx. We got items on Ezreal. This time it's going to be the Thieves'
Thieves'
Gloves.
Gloves,
Good items for Ezreal too. Rabadon's not going to be as effective as they used to be back in the day. Back in the day, like 2 weeks ago. But the
Back in the day.
I know, right? Back when I was a young kid eating Werther's Originals and strawberry candy. Um, no, but he's feeling pretty good so far. NeekyNooky sitting in there. This is exactly kind of, I know for me, my preference at this point in the game is to be anywhere from like second to fifth. Because if I know I'm in first, I'm about to lose like 8 games in a row. And if I and if I'm in last place, I'm just gonna finish that way. But for me personally, this is exactly where I'd want to be if I'm NeekyNooky.
Yeah, the only thing is that he spent a lot of gold here. He's on 4-2, about to be on 4-3 with 30 gold. Not terrible. He rolled and he hit, which is great. I mean, hit Aurelion Soul, hit Jinx too. He's in a definitely a solid spot here. What he needs to be able to do here is get a good item from the carousel. Hopefully a Last Whisper on that Jinx, as we talked about the fact of Last Whisper being very, very good here. Econ well enough to go to level 8, find that 4th brawler in the form of a Gnar there, and hopefully that's good enough. Checking in with Gunmay here, though. Well, not checking in, but Neeky scouting Gunmay. He still has a Master Yi 1, but somehow is still on 78 HP.
Who was it the other day that had all tier 3 units for the mech except no fizzes? I think it was I think it
Oh,
was
yeah.
Egal. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It was.
same kind of situation where you got all the parts except for that one kind of like flat tire there that's
Mhm.
just kind of dragging the whole thing down. But yeah, we got NeekyNooky, who's just chilling right now, takes down DuoQ Abuser, who's sitting at the top of the leaderboard at our current time. And the thing about DuoQ Abuser is that it seems like if he's unable to develop enough of a lead at the very beginning of a game, this mid game can be a little bit more troublesome from him. I don't know if you've noticed that yourself, but his early game seems to be really, really strong,
Yeah,
whereas it seems to
definitely.
lose a little bit more in the later game. Seems to be losing a little bit earlier this time around, and this is not a position I want DuoQ Abuser to be in based off of how we've seen him play already.
Yeah, curious to see a bit more of DuoQ Abuser's board here once this carousel stage ends. Okay, it is 3 Sniper. Vayne is the item carrier right now with Teemo there as well. No Jhin yet, and I think this does want to be a 4 Sniper composition for DuoQ Abuser. The fact is that level 8, no gold, no Jins. There's a Gnar, that's good. Needs to find one Jhin though, and Vayne is going to be item carrying for that Jhin. That's a good Gnar roll, replaces the Irelia here. And it might end up being a GA on the Gnar if DuoQ Abuser needs to do that. Ashe as well, that's going to be good. Place the Blitzcrank, 4
Mhm.
snipers. Celestial
As
as well.
we in real time see DuoQ Abuser make a couple decisions that are going to affect his overall board, putting that GA onto that Gnar, but switching out a lot of those characters. No more Irelia, no more Blitzcrank, gonna go ahead and try to get that Celestial buff, and with Sniper, Celestial is just so good because that is good healing for them, but all of that damage on those shrooms is looking like it's going to be enough for DuoQ Abuser, so those intentional changes doing some good stuff already as the Trap Claw is going to take the Caitlyn down on the other side. thatsPRIMAL loses once again. He seems to have stabilized.
Yeah.
Peeba is the one on the bottom side of the totem pole right now. It's at 13 HP, 18 for JakeyBoyCoffman. And you know what? thatsPRIMAL just needed a little bit of time, my friend. Maybe we're getting a little bit too hard on him, but 36 HP seems to be where he stabilized, and he's sitting at 5th place. But the top 4 have separated themselves quite a bit from everyone else. But Peeba looking at an elimination round.
I'm actually so confused by Peeba. I think that Peeba choosing to go fast 8 is so risky here while having the items to go Cassiopeia, and I think he wanted to put them on an Urgot. I think he's sort of tunnel visioning on that Urgot playstyle. But needs to move the items to Cassio, and he does. He's just playing not Vanguards though, but playing a Protector frontline instead. and it's not going to hold up very well, I believe, versus actually, it might hold up better than I thought. The Nico living like a bit long, the Soraka providing it healing. Okay, so it
Yeah.
is good enough now. The Cassiopeia dealt enough damage. The Protector front line, surprisingly enough for me at least, held on long enough. But I think that's just due to having a Vayne without cybernetics and not having a Jhin right there and not having a Teemo too. I think those were some upgraded units, more optimized by Joe Abuser there, would have went completely another way. Jakey Boy, as talked about earlier, did in fact go the route of Cassiopeia, but has kind of low-rolled items so far, it looks like. I mean, that doesn't have Morello's has a death cap and a blue buff on that Cassiopeia. Isn't even putting himself in a position to go to level 8 with 4 Mystics, I believe, because doesn't have either the Bard or the Soraka on the bench right there. Hopefully can get 3 items here. There's a cloak, a glove, and a rod.
Oh,
So,
there's a rod. All right.
yeah, 3 items. Still not great though, honestly.
What if
I would say probably just slams Jewel Gauntlet on the Cassiopeia, then Dragon Claw on the Jace. That's probably the best thing that he can do
Jewel
right
Gauntlet
now.
Rabadons has a pretty good interaction too, with just AP upon AP with the crit going along with the Rabadons. So
Yeah,
that could potentially do it. But unfortunately for him, Rabadon's not the best item on Cassiopeia, actually, because of the damage
no,
over time effect. You actually, I think, actually push out more damage by putting Morello's
yeah.
on cast than a Rabadon's in at the end. But that's Primal now on the other side. Giant Slayer, Last Whisper, Red Buff. I don't remember the last time I saw the itemization on Jhin, but it seems to be working out for him. The arrow goes through, and no matter how much damage this Cassiopeia might have, it's going to need to be healed up by that Soraka, which is exactly what happens. But nice Caitlyn snipe brings thatsPRIMAL the victory, and JakeyBoyCoffman at 1 HP. Oh,
Yeah, Peeba
and
actually
Peeps out.
falls. Yeah, Peeba falls in 8th there. So these Cassiopeia compositions have taken too long to come online here. Jakey Boy 1 HP has the potential to stabilize here, but I think just needs to unfortunately sell the Thresh and roll for a Bard or for a Lulu here for that 4th Mystic. I think that's what's gonna make you the most powerful right now, unless he high rolls like an Urgot and then sells the rest of his bench. Can't
That
even afford to keep the Wukong there, needs to sell it for that Soraka too.
Yeah, and it might as well have sold the Thresh at that point, right? Since he's not going to be able to ult, he's just gonna, throw his
He's
little
chilling.
chain in the face. Yeah, he's
I
just
mean,
partying in the
could buy
back
a
line.
Ziggs right now. He actually should buy a Ziggs or a Xayah to be pulled in, but
Oh, it's gonna work anyway.
yeah, it doesn't actually make too much of a difference either way. The Thresh does provide 2 Chrono, but 2 Chrono is not insanely powerful in this comp, and it's mainly just there to pull in Urgots at level 9.
Mhm.
LeeRandomly, though, doing the pretty much same thing as last game, though, playing a Jinx and playing items that are okay, but using that to win streak early mid game and preserve HP very, very well, which, I mean, is why LeeRandomly is still in 1st place right now.
Does find the Bard, so he has
Yep,
his 4
4 Mystic.
Mystics. That is going to be a little bit better than the Thresh. They pretty much do the same thing. Loses out on the Chrono, but the Bard is there for the 4 Vanguards, 4 Mystics. So we're really going to see how much this comp can do in this situation, because this is one of the weaker versions that you'll see of this comp with itemization, with the tier 1 units, especially with the Bard in the back. You definitely want that to be a Lulu, but right now we're actually seeing it pretty strong. No Last Whispers on the other side. These Blade Masters, though, starting to pop off. Soraka, though, doing a little
Yeah.
bit too much damage, but the Master Yi in the back line will be eliminating JakeyBoyCoffman in the end. Someone said it in chat a little earlier, and I love the way that it said Blade Masters are feast or famine, and that's exactly what we just saw. And it looks like we're feasting right now if you're Gunmay, as 3 people fall total. So Jakey Boy will be finishing in 6th. That's
6th, yeah.
Primal finishing in 7th, and Peeba finishing in 8th. So this is all for top 4, as DuoCube user would love a top 4 finish right now.
Definitely, and man, I'm surprised, but I mean, I'm surprised, but I'm not. thatsPRIMAL finished 7th this game. I think the early game wasn't where it needed to be. thatsPRIMAL did stabilize pretty well, better than I thought that he would, but it still was not enough there at the end. Maybe didn't find the Teemo 2 in time, but yeah, Jakey Boy played the composition, a bit better and was able to get a 6th as a result. Not
Oh,
quite a top 4. It's still pretty good there.
Blade Master Vayne, here we
Yeah,
go, my friends.
that's pretty good. Echo too as well with these items right now. Man, watching this fight, Echo's gonna pop the heck off here.
Sometimes Thieves' Gloves is like, Merry Christmas, everybody. Really just goes to show that sometimes you'll get some terrible items, sometimes you get these items. And he's going to even get a little bit of AoE damage with that Ludens and an immediate ult with that blue buff. An item that you never really have in time for the Echo, basically on that 5th level. But he's going to ult almost immediately and
Yep.
actually eat the shrooms from the team. That's actually a really, really big deal because that Gnar would have thrown all of those units into those shrooms and potentially caused him to lose, but GeoCube user is going to get eliminated anyway. As SleetTFT continues his role right now, 29 HP, tons of money, 7-game win streak as we look at LeeRandomly.
I'm having deja vu again. LeeRandomly with 2 Jinx 2s in the board. Very similar positioning and not really optimal items. Slamming those Thieves' Gloves is great and all, and that goes in the Gnar for now, but unless LeeRandomly is able to get a good Kayn item here for the Jinx, it's just not going to be good enough. Does find the Gnar 2 there, another Jinx, so 2 Jinxes away. We may see another similar situation to last game here.
All right, let's this is getting into the nitty-gritty, especially after lobby 3. The what might happen in lobby 4 will be coming into focus after this lobby. We've still got the top 4, and this top 4 a lot closer than our other ones so far today. This one's going to be LeeRandomly and NeekyNooky. The Thieves' Gloves this time not offering as much value onto this Gnar, and the Jinx is going to fall. Is the Ezreal going to be tanky enough? The answer
No.
is no. Warmog's fun item on him, but it's not going to be enough as we get to, my daddy Kayn with the Zeeks. Here, me
Yeah.
no Zerks with Gunmay is going to be the one with the Zeeks, and that's a big item for him. Maybe 2 Zeeks on the Yasuo.
Gunmay leveled to 8 with being 1 away from 3 separate 2-cost units and being 3 away from Master Yi 3. And he leveled to 8 only to play another Yi 2. I guess because he had to make a decision if what he wanted to sell on his board, but I don't think that going to 8 is the right decision to make there. Okay, fortunately for him, does roll the Yasuo 3, so that's super good. The fact is that he doesn't have a lot of gold to find much else. Fortunately, hits the Shen. I mean, finding tier 2s on level 8 is real risky, but he's getting kind of lucky. I just don't think that this Yi will ever get tier 3 though at this point.
We will find out, but does he even need to at this point? Double Zeeks and some extra
mean,
spell power on that Yasuo.
I think to win the lobby, he does.
All right, we will see. We've got Gunmay sitting in
Ooh.
first place against LeeRandomly. This should be a nice litmus test for both of these players to see where they stand in this top 4 lobby, because everyone's looking at SleetTFT right now on fire. The bottom of this lobby is not weak at all, as Yasuo is only going to get 2 ults off and 1 confirmed kill. The Blade Masters melt away, and LeeRandomly takes down Gunmay. Was that to be expected from what you saw from both of those comps?
Yes, I think that it was, because no QSS on the Master Yi, a very important item. It got hit by the Gnar, and LeeRandomly actually did get very lucky and got a Last Whisper from the Kayn. Actually didn't see what it was at the time, but now we see it, which is the exact, one of the few items rather, that LeeRandomly needed. So huge in terms of winning that round. NeekyNooky actually on a 3-round loss streak. This comp looks super, super strong, looks super good, but something's missing here. We'll see if he's able to pick it up versus Gunmay though.
A good amount of tier 1 units. Maybe it's positioning. Maybe it's just getting unlucky. Just like that. As I say the word unlucky, it's like saying 7 at the craps table. You don't want to do it. I am so sorry, NeekyNooky. I feel like that one is my fault. I apologize. 4th place for NeekyNooky. LeeRandomly. SleetTFT now finds himself in first place, and Gunmay in 2nd. That Yasuo is one of the big reasons why NeekyNooky. It is the reason why NeekyNooky did fall in the end. 2 more Yis for that Yi 3. Looking for that Zed, who will be stealing some attack damage into the back line, which if he's able to get to that Jinx is a big deal. So We'll definitely be seeing if that Zed is able to get tier 3. It has an okay item. The BF Sword means that he's going to be doing just a little bit of extra damage. Where is that Zed going to jump? It looks like it's going to hit the Vayne, but once that Vayne tumbles, it will lose aggro. No, actually goes on to the Caitlyn. The Yasuo potentially is going to be going the other way. The Irelia is looking like it might be that Yasuo ult. No, it's going to get into the backline. This Yasuo is so strong.
Yeah, it is, but not strong enough. It gets CC'd out there a little bit. Master Yi goes into that Guardian Angel state, pops out, but just gets instantly shredded there. Gunmay has the HP to take that loss, but Sleet, I believe on that was an 11 win streak there. Sleet shaping up to be in a really good spot to win this lobby. Also, very quickly,
Oh no, Gunmay, another one.
another one for Gunmay. Blade Master Spat can take out a bad Blade Master and put in something else. So that's super good there.
Yep.
But I want to go over the itemization really quick on Gunmay's Yasuo, and specifically the chalice there. I think is super strong. Not only does it buff the amount of hits that Yasuo is able to strike with on his ultimate, but it also buffs the Master Yi so that he will deal more true damage and he will deal will heal more, excuse me, from his ultimate. If that was a Master Yi 3, I would think that Gunmay definitely could take this lobby, but unfortunately, it's looking unlikely for him to achieve that though. And
All right.
these echo items, it's been blue buff Ludens, blue buff Ludens twice, and then blue buff Jewel Gauntlet once.
All right, I mean, I might as well just build the blue buff on him at this point in time. So he's going to ult right away. The Ludens goes off into the back quarter, which is very good. Maybe popping that Master Yi's GA really early, but that Master Yi stays alive a little bit too long at SleetTFT. Look how strong that comp is. It's absolutely nuts.
Sleet lives here, but one player will fall, and that player is going to be Gunmay, as LeeRandomly, with those jinxes, takes out the Blade Masters for not hitting Yi 3. Gunmay getting third place is pretty good here. He played the early game very well. He's able to get to that spot. But man, that echo jumping, as we saw in SleetSport, the echo jumping onto the Yi, not having QSS, so the attack speed slow from the echo there was just way too much for the Yi to deal with there. We get to our top 2, which potentially could be the last fight of the game.
12-round win streak for SleetTFT, another cybernetic player showing off. This time, IE Warmogs, another all right item combination for those Thieves Gloves. On the Echo is going to have to wait a little while longer to get that ult up, but he does finally get there, and you're seeing those crit procs right now just deleting LeeRandomly's HP. LeeRandomly putting up a little bit more of a fight, but I mean, that's just like saying that like a child's putting up a fight against a UFC fighter at this point, because SleetTFT takes the lobby, will pretty much, I think, secure himself a top 3. We'll definitely see the leaderboard here in just a second, but SleetTFT, another cybernetic lobby win.
Cybernetics pretty strong. Sleet piloting them very well. In fact, as we will show you the scores here in a moment, but I believe, Sleet really solidifying himself on top here, has gotten second place, first place, so sort of reminiscent of some thatsPRIMAL scores, exactly, of last week. thatsPRIMAL though, after game number 1, has really taken a bit of a dip here. Potentially still could get top 3 here in this lobby, but is in a not great spot to be able to do that. Duo Q Abuser and Gunmay though tied for second with 20 points. LeeRandomly and NeekyNooky actually not too far apart, 3 and 4 points away respectively. This is going to be one of those game 4s that's going to be intense.
Ooh, look at how volatile the standings are, except our friend in first place, right? True. Everyone else has had 4th, 1st, 8th, 7th, how many combinations of 8 numbers can I make? But the moral of the story here is this, like, this has been a very volatile lobby. It really can go either way. And so the only one that we know for sure is Sleet will be coming back next week. A 6-point lead at this point in time is almost insurmountable. You would have to really at this point, I think, try to get 8th place. And the way that the other lobby members need to order around, he will most likely be coming back next week. But really, from
Yeah.
second to 6th place, anyone's game. It really is just determined on how these players finish against each other. So if you're Gunmay, you want to finish in that top 3, then you get a top 3, right? If you're one of those 20 pointers, DuoCube user's another one. You finish in the top 3, you'll get top 3. Other than that, if DuoCube user or Gunmay finish outside the top 3, that's when things get real interesting.
Definitely. And I sort of want to bring back a point that you mentioned earlier, like how do you play differently in tournaments than on ladder? Taking a look, at where we just took a look at the scores, 26 points Sleet. If you're Gunmay at 20 points, JakeyBoyCoffman user at 20 points, the way that I would approach this game is it's like, okay, Sleet's 6 points ahead. I'm probably not going to be able to beat Sleet because even if Sleet just plays super aggro and plays for top 4, even if I go first, I'm not catching up to him. I'm not beating him in that spot. I'm just going to play for consistency for that top 4 and trying to get back to compete next week. And I think that's going to, I'm not sure if those players are going to be thinking the same thing, but at least that's how I would. Man, all right. How many jinx are we gonna see?
I know, right? Last time we got giant. What did we get last time? Hextech Gunblade and some other stupid item. But the moral of the story here is the thing about Galactic Armory that I've realized is someone who covers competitive TFT versus actually playing in it is it ends up being a race to a certain team comp, right? Based off of what items you had. The last time we had this happen, we got a first carousel all spat carousel, so everyone was racing to Acel, and I think Acel ended up winning that lobby. This time around, you see those 2 items who you're thinking about. You said it already. It's Jinx. So knowing this lobby, who was the most excited to see these items pop up?
I mean, I think that would have to be LeeRandomly, playing those 2 Jinx 2s the past couple of games. Excuse me, even Jinx 3 in game number 2. I think LeeRandomly definitely is on his mind there. NeekyNooky played Jinx. I mean, thatsPRIMAL played Jinx in game number 1. Jinx is on a lot of players' minds right now. They don't have to be for Jinx, but that's what I would gravitate towards. They could be for a Vayne. They could be for early game Lucian. They could even be for a Jhin as well. That is something that would not be bad. So would look out for that. DuoCube user already hitting a couple of pairs and has a Cogmoth to be an item carrier, a couple of Battercasters. This is such a good start for DuoCube user right now. Like, this is actually pretty insane. Best case scenario.
And he is one of the best early game players, I think, in the lobby. So really carrying him. He's able to develop these 40, 50 HP leads that even when he does start losing, he finishes in the top 4 anyway. So it could actually be very similar here. Like you said, it's almost a perfect start. Got the 2 blasters, got the 2 battle casts, plus those items. As you said, any item that's good on Jinx will most likely be good on any of the blasters. It's just the tip-top maximization of the stats on a Jinx will be on her, again, tier 4 unit. But Kog'Maw, Lucian definitely can carry those items. Not Graves unless you're feeling extra squirrely, or maybe you have a little bit of scurvy, but the other ones definitely feel pretty good with that. But what's interesting to me is that a lot of these players, the classic thatsPRIMAL Vayne, some of these players waiting to put those items on, some of these players deciding to slam them immediately. Is it just really what champions they got that kind of determines that? And right now, are you deciding, am I losing here? Am I loss streaking? Am I going to start win streaking? Because it looks like thatsPRIMAL already has his carry.
Yeah, I was thinking all throughout, looking at thatsPRIMAL's board here, is he going to commit to a Runeans or is he going to go for the IE for the last item there? And he actually did decide to commit for a Runeans, and I kind of like this actually from thatsPRIMAL. It gives him a lot of direction. He did go for cybernetics here. It's not like he's selling these to tunnel for a Jinx or something, but he's gonna be doing pretty well for himself here right now in having that Vayne carry, has snipers, could still go Jinx if he finds it later, but hitting that Vi there, I mean, well, hitting the Vi there I guess goes either or direction, because you can go brawlers with it, or you can just keep it for the cybernetic. But yeah, Primal making a decision, having a strong board. I think this is the comfortability that thatsPRIMAL needs to succeed in the rest of the early game and throughout the mid game, from at least from what I've seen from him so far.
He's going to get let's talk about item interactions a little bit more because we actually haven't talked about how certain items are better with each other. For example, I think one of the better interactions is Hurricane with things like Giant Slayer or Red Buff, right? So you don't have blasters that to be able to tag a lot of people with utility like Red Buff. You can put a Ruden's Hurricane on someone like Vayne to do the exact same thing. So the Last Whisper and the Giant Slayer also getting procced on that extra magic bolt that you see flying around her shoulder, but you are giving up some attack damage for a little bit more utility. Do you see that working here? I know it's like really, really early, and I like this item combination, but this particular item combination does seem to fall off a little bit later on.
Yeah, I think it does fall off a little bit early on, but if it's strong early and you're win streaking early, it's super, super good. That's kind of the LeeRandomly style of play that we've seen work out pretty well the past couple of games. Unfortunately for thatsPRIMAL, everyone has these items, so it's not, able to win streak out. It's not like
Yeah.
he's like special in that regard. Maybe can win this round because Vayne's really good and can stealth away from units and drops aggro, and so that's pretty strong. But
Tell me
to
how you
to
really feel.
to nitpick a little bit actually on thatsPRIMAL, he might have been able to win the previous round to that last one if he had decided to play 2 Vanguards actually over the snipers. He has damage already with the Vayne. It's like he's lacking in damage. He was lacking in frontline. And I think the lack of frontline there really made the difference. He might have still been able to be on 100 HP on a win streak right now if that was different, but he has decided now to take out the Leona for that FR, which I think he should have also done if he wasn't committing it to 2 Vanguards. But yeah, either way, thatsPRIMAL still in a strong spot here. Hopefully he can maintain that.
Yeah, and then we've got Gunmay and DuoQ Abuser, who was sitting in 4th place, but basically they're having their own little lobby within this lobby, right? Based off of how the lobby has shown itself. We've got someone in first place, Sleet, who's gonna probably he's got a 6-point lead. That's pretty dominant. You don't really want to try to compete for that at this point in time. I think the other question is, all right, 2nd through 6th, they're all kind of in a lobby together with I think we've got Jakey Boy and here we go. Thank you. We've got Peeba sitting at 6 and 5, but everyone from thatsPRIMAL and DuoQ Abuser sitting at their own lobby. So thatsPRIMAL needs to be looking at DuoQ and a Gunmay and saying, you know what, I got to finish ahead of them. And maybe not even, you might want to scout Sleet to see what kind of things he's running, but what he's doing is kind of only effective based off of how he's affecting the lobby, but
Yeah,
everyone looking at him not
exactly.
really paying attention. The more important information is everyone from 2nd down.
Definitely. If you're in a position like thatsPRIMAL, you want to be playing for a first place here. You want to be play for first so you can get into the top 3, get invited back next week. If you're DuoQ Abuser or Gunmay, maybe playing for the top 4. But these styles of play will be different. I think we will see that style of play, I guess, really come to fruition here. We might see players like DuoQ Abuser and Gunmay roll down on level 7 pretty aggressively, to whereas you might see thatsPRIMAL make a bit more of like risky decisions, like playing for that first place sort of style of play.
And so I'm excited to see how that is going to end up because we'll see the fruits of that in the late game. Here in the
Yeah.
early game, we're still kind of just positioning because a lot of these players will find out, all right, we're on round 4-1. I'm not going to win. Unless these things happen, but
Yeah.
Khroen, I'm hearing some giggles. What you thinking? What you thinking, buddy?
LeeRandomly, round 2-6 before Terror Bursters, is level 6 right now. He has spent all of his gold to level to 6, and this is why we see LeeRandomly have such high HP going into the late game. He doesn't really play for firsts and playing for econs that you're able to, go 9, have a bunch of gold to roll down and just like hit everything later on. He just preserves HP. It's not a first place style, but it is one that is consistent to get you those top 3s and to get you invited back for next week on Fight Night. So I'm actually really liking what I see here from LeeRandomly. I talked a second ago about the fact that, yeah, I might see players roll down at 7 or aggressively, but the other side of that, you could also just level up aggressively. And we see that here, and we see LeeRandomly 100 HP, very, very strong. Even hits
hmm
Nautilus 2 there to replace some Leonas, so
Yeah, and
I'm
this
liking
might
this a lot.
this might continue on a little while longer. And something that we have to emphasize too is that 5-game win streak. When you spend so much gold to get to this win streak, the idea is to continue winning and develop your purse a lot more quickly, because if he wasn't, it would take so much longer to even get to this 19 gold than it would
Mhm.
be just the 2 wins that he would need last time around. And to finish that last round above 10, at 10 gold while also getting that not 2 is a huge win and a good boon to him, because now he's at 19 HP. All he needs is a win. He'll get to 29, I think, next round. And then he continues to econ up, and this investment that he's made in his team will start paying off. In another
Yeah.
world, though, that investment can go down either because of items or maybe you don't hit those rolls. But right now, I think LeeRandomly really playing this fast level, get out of the gates really quick, get to that high HP total, stick there, and then see what happens, once everyone gets to level 7 or 8, and position myself accordingly.
Yeah, even gets to guaranteed get to the 30 gold econ there, because being on 20 and then the +3 from the win streak. Like the +3 gold from the win streak is so huge in making back that gold, as just talking about.
Hmm.
So randomly like playing it super super well. We see NeekyNooky, have maybe let's say 10 more gold than randomly, but 35 more HP or for 35 less HP. Randomly even levels to level 7 as we see on the side there to 3-2. So it very much so wants to keep that win streak going. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of insane, but I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah,
Um,
Khroen, I've noticed with you. We've gotten a couple of these down. I've noticed you like those fast levelers. You've talked about it a couple times, but
yeah.
anytime someone like really aggressively levels, just like we saw LeeRandomly do it, I think thatsPRIMAL actually did it when he had that double Nico's vein a little while ago. What is that? What is it about that play that you like so much? Why is it kind of pop out to you? And it's something that you like pointing out.
It is a style of play that not everyone is comfortable with. It is a style of play that is more about consistency than variance, I suppose. And when you scout the lobby, you process the information that if I level here, I am most likely or even maybe guaranteed going to keep my win streak here, and get that +3 extra gold per turn, get better natural shops to find the units that everybody else wants before everybody else
Mm.
does. I like all of that coming together, and like LeeRandomly, I'm pretty confident is going to top 4 this game at the very least, if not place higher because of all of that. LeeRandomly is in the perfect spot to do this. You don't always want to force doing this, but the spot that LeeRandomly is in, I think it is correct. And it is a spot that he is comfortable with, he has practiced on, and has made work for the past couple of games. So I'm definitely liking. I just want to point it out so that other people might be able to realize this and realize that why it's working, because there is a reason why it's working and why he's tied for second right now and is playing so consistently well.
All right, we got Peeba now sitting at the bottom of the leaderboard. We have Jakey Boy also at 47. So this is where this carousel 3-4 is when you're like, all right, if I'm sitting above 55 HP, I'm okay. But below that is maybe I'm going to be a little concerned. With Jakey Boy sitting at 47, it could be another quick lobby for him. Peeba, though, you said you like him as a player, and I think a lot of it has to do with, you said he can luck into certain things. We got to see a little bit of that with that Protector Spat Acel, unfortunately only giving him a 6th place. What
Yeah.
haven't we seen from Peeba today that you've maybe seen from him in the past
I
that
mean,
has made you such a fan?
so mostly, we actually dubbed round 4-3 a while ago as the Peeba round back in set 2, because every single game, week to week, like without doubt, he would sack HP down to like 20, 30 HP, would go so dangerously low, but he would roll it down and have items already for that Zed and that Singe to come in back in set 2, and would just win streak out from there. And he would literally go first or eighth just every single game. So it was such a treat to watch that style. And seeing Peeba drop pretty low in these games, I mean, they're not really working out for him as well as it was, in set 2. But it is a delight when it actually does work out. Peeba drops so low and he's comfortable with that style of play, and sometimes it's so rewarding. It's just like he's taking the half court shot right now, and when he lands, man, is that beautiful to see.
Yeah, that reminds me of when I used to play Madden back in the day, or like NCAA football. Every play is a Hail Mary, no
Mm-hmm,
matter what.
mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm.
eventually you'll get that touchdown, right? You might have to go through a couple interceptions before you get there. But
So when it
or
works.
yeah, or like every single time it's 2-point conversion. I don't know what a field goal is in video games, and I think that's kind of what Peeba is doing. Man, I used to play so much Madden
Oh
back in the
man.
day when I
Me
was
too, me
like,
too. That
ah,
that
dude.
strikes true. That strikes true for sure. It's like, nah, just risk it. He'll marry every play. And that
Yeah,
is the
exactly.
play style. And he very much lives or dies by that.
That's
It's so
so
entertaining to watch.
funny. Yeah, it always is, you know? And like, well, maybe in football, seeing a Hail Mary replay might not be, but every time you do see one, it is the most epic moment. And this kind of, we talked about Feast or Famine in terms of play style with Blade
Yeah.
Masters. In terms of people, Peeba seems to be like that. And I'm empathetic towards that cause because I'm definitely someone who is like a top two finisher or last place finisher, man. Like I am not a middle of the road on anything. My opinions are strong no matter what they are. PB and J's need to be cut in a triangle. Leave the crust on. JakeyBoyCoffman sitting at 26 HP, 50 gold. And this is actually one thing, if I were to give some advice to Jakey Boy, it seems like the way he's using his economy needs to be a little bit more intentional, needs to know, I think, the plays a little bit better because he sits at some very awkward gold amounts, and I'm not really seeing him use his gold in the best possible way every round.
I'm not gonna lie, I think Jakey Boy is playing this one for fun right now, which I mean he can't get into the top 3, so I don't blame him. But I think I saw him type in the chat, just give me all the chronos, and then he was rolling on the PvE round there and was rolling for chronos and actually skipped a Wukong, like threw his hands up and was like, oh no, I skipped a Wukong, but it's a little funny right there. But yeah, Jakey Boy has 6 chronos right now, and so it's not a comp that we see a lot.
Yeah,
If at all, if
let's stick
ever.
on it. I wonder why. Maybe we'll find out. But let's talk about Riven a little bit because I remember last week a lot of people were like, "Oh, Riven is a little disappointing." But I faced a Protector Riven a little earlier today that wanted me to quit the game. I
Really?
think, but yeah, it was actually a pretty cool. I forget what was the utility around it, but it was working really, really well. What do you think of Riven in a general? It doesn't work very well here for Jakey Boy, but some people some people say
Yeah,
Riven still has the
I think,
ability to maybe sneak in.
yeah, I think Jakey Boy is going the wrong 6-piece synergy there with the Riven. And with Chronos in instead of Sorcerers, I think a Riven is going to be good. She's going to need items like GA blue buff, which he has, but really, usually you're going to want Ionic, Death Cap, NGA, maybe a blue buff if you don't have one of those, or a QSS. But Sorcerers enable her to shield. Her shield's going to be very, very high amount, and she's going to deal a lot of damage every time she does that little wind slash there. Jakey Boy doing the
Oh,
math wrong.
yeah, he's gonna get his 8 chronos maybe.
He
Um,
needs to find a Thresh. He spent all of his gold to not level up there, so maybe gonna have to reevaluate that one back on
no, he
the
wanted
tape.
he just wanted the
Oh,
passive level
pre-level,
up.
pre-level. True, 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 true,
Yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He just wanted, he's pre-leveling. He knows he wants to go to 8 anyway. It's just I think there are just so many wrinkles in the decision making in that brain that us plebs might not truly understand what it takes to get to 8 chronos. Winning though is definitely one of them. As we actually get to see the Riven do a little bit of damage in the back line. Will Jakey Boy survive? Will we see the 8 chronos? Maybe. We've got 4 HP. Now we're just crossing our fingers. Passive level up. We're going to be able to use all 9 gold to get to this Thresh. Will we get there? We're at level 8. We're looking for a Thresh. You got 6 HP. Or no, you got 6 gold left. 3 gold remaining. Sell the Gnar. Sell the Gnar. You know you want to. Here we go. We're Thresh right here. Nope. Sell the Xerath. Sell the Xerath. Nope, we're just going to put him in instead. No, you got to sell the Xerath, look for the Thresh. That's what I think. But we'll see if the Xerath is going to be bringing him another round. Peeba sitting at 6 HP as well. Maybe a Hail Mary play for Peeba, but we might see 2 people get eliminated right here and right now. SleetTFT on the other side, sitting pretty in first place. This is a nice little cash lobby for him. And the casual Asol at 4-3-2 is definitely going to make him feel pretty good about himself. And if these Chronos unable to stay alive to actually get value out of that chrono buff. Would have been funny to see a Bard in there or something. But SleetTFT
Yeah.
doing work, eliminating
Ooh, not
Jakey Boy.
8.
Peeba also eliminated as Jakey Boy gets 7th, Peeba gets 8th, and now it's going to be the rest. DuoCube user. Now we get to check into the second lobby of this lobby, right? With
Yeah.
DuoCube user Gunmay, NeekyNooky, and everyone who is not named SleetTFT right now. DuoCube user had a nice opener. We said almost perfect, but actually sitting at 43 HP. Something went wrong there. I'm sure sure we're going to go back to his bench in a second, but he is not feeling good about this, because if he finishes outside the top 3 in 6th place, he will not finish in that top 3 in the end. So this is very important as he picks up that Teemo. That's got to feel good.
Definitely. I don't know if there was actually a tier on the carousel. I wasn't paying full enough attention there, but definitely wanted that for the blue buff. Does have the potential for a Zeke's or a Trap Claw right now. Perhaps one of those we made, and Trap Claw is indeed the decision there. Places that on Teemo. Get into, all right, serious time for this lobby, because these placements do very, very much matter for these players in winning for tonight or getting top 3 to get back. Good reposition from DuoQ there as the Zephyr Blitz pulls the Ashe, but Teemo and Jhin are free to just wreak havoc onto NeekyNooky's team right now, and they are doing just that, but they're dropping pretty low here. Jhin alive at the end.
Oh, so close as NeekyNooky does fall. And man, I have a feeling these next couple rounds are going to be nail biters. Any one of these players can finish in the top 3. Where they finish in this lobby is so important. Basically, if you finish in this 6th spot, you will not be making it unless you are Sleet. And so SleetTFT can finish in 6th place. That's what the rest of the lobby actually wants, because Sleet not only is already set at the top of the standings, can also play spoiler for some of these players. So if he finishes in first and someone misses out by 1 point, it's because of SleetTFT. So NeekyNooky now with 4 brawlers, 3 rebels, 2 chronos, 2 blasters. We've seen this comp a couple times already today. No top 1 that finishes. How do you feel about this comp specifically? Is NeekyNooky now looking at a top 4? I mean, it looks all right, pushing out some damage. Has a little bit of beef. Where do you see this comp in the grander scheme of things?
Oh, sorry, I was checking the scores. The brawler Jinx composition.
Yeah.
Brawler Jinx. I like this composition a lot. I think it has a lot of frontline, a lot of beefy utility, and the Gnar. I think Gnar is one of the best units in the set. Gnar is so insane. Aurelion sold for the 3rd rebel to enable Jinx as well. Or not to enable Jinx, but to enable Aurelion sold to enable rebels, and also to drain the mana of the enemy is super good. Blitzcrank in there for the chrono, and to pull a unit to give Jinx the reset. Everything just sort of comes together with its composition. That it is still good. Even when you don't need to run 4 blasters, and it is good if you don't have the 6 rebels with maybe that super GP to be a massive part of your front line. So very, very good composition. We do see rebels here though from Sleet, and Sleet has that GP for the front line, so we're sort of seeing both of those here coming online.
But... And the J on the GP should mean that his ultimate goes off, but there's a big but there, my friend, and it's not just an Ashe.
Okay, Jinx 2 was achieved here for Sleet. That is massive, and that is what Sleet needed here. Unfortunately, did not pick up any other GPs, so probably we'll just go to level 9 from here on out. Can't make any more items, or can't receive any more item components here, so has to make that, and I think that will be made. Okay, Ionic is going on the Aurelion Soul and not the GP. I think that is fine. A fine play, and Sleet's in a good spot. Win streaking, beating DuoQ Abuser there. The middle of the pack
spoiler.
Playing spoiler a little bit, indeed, actually, because it's really important for Sleet to get as strong as he can right now, because if he were to be eliminated in 6th, he'd only be getting 3 points. There's actually a world where if Gunmay or DuoQ Abuser gets first, that they would actually be able to surpass Sleet and get in first place. So Sleet, as long as he is not 6th here, I believe he wins out on the tiebreakers. If he gets 5th, even if Gunmay or DuoQ Abuser gets first, just because of how well he's performed in the rest of the lobbies tonight. I could be wrong about that, but definitely doesn't want 6th right now.
No one wants 6th right now, so this 6th spot is is kryptonite for I think for everyone in this lobby. Basically, if you finish in that 6th place, if you're Sleet, you're not going to finish in first potentially, and for everyone else, you will not be coming back next week as this Jhin with that Giant Slayer on the Jhin. My question about the Giant Slayer on the Jhin is, with that 4th bullet being so powerful with that crit, how much more is Giant Slayer giving you on the Jhin than, say, putting it on somebody else? Why even make the item at that point?
I mean, the item, I mean, oh, everyone started the game, I believe, with the Giant Slayer Last Whisper, right?
Oh, that's right. That is
Yeah,
Galactic Armory. Man, that
yeah,
feels like
exactly.
years ago, dude. Like,
It really
yeah,
does.
I
It's like,
know.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
items are reasonable to make for people, so like, sure, yeah, but
yeah,
everyone
yeah.
has them 'cause they're the ones given. That's actually not bad on Jhin. Like, it synergizes with a little bit with the Last Whisper. I mean, it does true damage. I guess doesn't really synergize that well with that actually, but it's going to be good versus frontliners, which at this point in the game are very tanky.
Mhm.
It's able to take out brawlers, which some players have. This Vi here, no mechs in the
Yeah.
lobby, but still, like Jhin does a lot of damage, and the 4-shot especially dealing true damage there. That synergy is very much so apparent. Um, yeah, every single 4th shot is going to be
Mhm.
dealing a
So I
lot.
think what I'm seeing is, especially with frontliners, the Giant Slayer just kind of makes it so that 4th shot is an automatic kill no matter who you are, right? That Giant Slayer is going to delete some HP from your brawlers. So when he gets to that 4th shot, they're already pretty weak. And if it doesn't kill him, someone else will too. So it provides just a little bit more of like that butter him up type of situation. As NeekyNooky now in it's that 6th place. That's Primal with 21. At least, I mean, like, look at how close this lobby is. Dude, the last time we looked, DoaQ User was in 6th place now in that
Yeah.
3rd. This is literally anybody's game. A little bit of a lead getting developed by Sleet and Gunmay, but everyone else, like, one loss is all that it will take, especially at this level of play at 21 and 17 HP. That's maximum 2 more losses as we're seeing thatsPRIMAL hit his 9, and we're going Astro Snipers this time around, and this is maybe for Giant Slayer TV, but we've got 3 Giant Slayers on Teemo. I like the branding. You know, I like the sponsorship opportunity there, but I don't know how good it's going to be in this lobby. But this is a pretty tanky lobby. The Teemo, though, we usually see with the AP items.
Yeah, triple Giant Slayer team. I was kind of chuckling to myself about the triple Giant Slayer Teemo a little while ago. No good items for the Teemo here, but triple Giant Slayer. Look how much these shrooms are gonna do. That's a lot of true damage there. Eliminating everything there. Jhin with the cleanup on the other side of the board there. Ooh, getting taken
Jesus.
out though. But wait, this is actually a really
Tier
close
1
one.
units, yeah, with Vayne in a GA. I actually think the Vayne
Yeah,
will be
not
able to take
yeah.
this in the end. But if you're going to lose, this is how you want to do it, just by 1 unit. Any type of lifeline from here on out is absolutely huge.
Yeah, definitely. Teemo will be getting those ultimates out pretty slow compared to the usual, but they will be good against anything that has MR or has a lot of armor. NeekyNooky
Mhm.
dropping to 2 HP here. Primal needs to start winning. He's actually on a 5 loss streak, and that's Primal needs to get like a top 2 placement to have a chance of coming back for next week, I think. Maybe even play for a first, like that's Primal. I said earlier, that's Primal needs to be playing for that first place right now. And I mean, he kind of is. It's just not really working out as
He's
much
got
as
a
needed. And
smorgasbord of items across the way, right? Not the best Teemo items, has good Jhin items, but everyone else struggling a little bit. And you got tier 1 Ashe, tier 1 Soraka, and a tier 1 Lulu, which you definitely want to get that polymorph off. But the Teemo
ooh,
actually doing some damage. These shrooms should be able to take those 2 out, but
uh,
no, I forget who was, but it looks like the Vayne maybe on the other side. Someone eats the shrooms from Twitch TV, NeekyNooky, and we've got 3 players at single digit HP. So basically, if
ooh,
DuoQ Abuser, NeekyNooky, or thatsPRIMAL lose here in the 6th spot, they will be missing out. DuoQ Abuser can have a little bit of leeway because if he finishes, I think, in 4th, he could still finish in that top 3. But the big
yeah.
deal here is like, if you lose too quickly at this point, you might get eliminated from next week because of just the pace that you're losing at. And NeekyNooky, thatsPRIMAL, DuoQ Abuser, all sitting at a very dangerous level when it comes to HP. Who do you want to watch here, Khroen? You get your pick of the litter.
Oh man, who do we want to watch right now? I think what DuoQ Abuser is doing right now and going to 9, want to see how this composition is improved upon here. We have yet another sniper player. That's Primal being the other. DuoQ Abuser scouting out the lobby, scouting what he needs, is seeing if Janna is actually the best unit to play right now. It turns out it's probably not going to be, but decides that a Lulu is. Titan's Resolve going onto that Wukong and going against thatsPRIMAL here. One of these sniper players will be falling here. Much
Mhm.
more at stake for thatsPRIMAL. Actually, both the players have a lot at stake here.
Yeah, both players returning players and will eliminate the other player, and it looks
Oh,
like
man.
DuoQ Abuser should be able to take down thatsPRIMAL, who's going to finish in 5th place as NeekyNooky finishes in 6th. So we've got our top 4 at lobby. We've got Sleet, man, who is sitting pretty on the top. Dominant performance so far from him. Gunmay in 2nd place. LeeRandomly in 3rd. DuoQ Abuser in 4th. LeeRandomly really wants to get this top 3 finish in front of DuoQ Abuser, hopefully finishing in 2nd place himself. I believe that gets him into the top 3, but DuoQ Abuser might be sitting in his way. We've got that GA on the Wukong along with that Ionic. That's a tanky little monk boy right there. Let's see if that's going to bring him the victory in this round, and this will be against LeeRandomly. That Irelia is going to be the one on the other side to watch along with that Vayne, and will his Echo be able to ult? It looks
Ooh,
like
man.
DuoQ Abuser's Gnar is able to ult. The Teemo Shrooms, could have found a little bit more value. The Echo, too, is actually going to run into those Teemo Shrooms. DuoQ Abuser has a little bit of an advantage right now. That Wind Slash from that Riven just doing nothing but tickle damage, but the Vayne a little too strong. Keeps him in at this fight, but the Shrooms take him down. LeeRandomly finishing in 4th place. And this, my friends, I believe is our top 3 for today because of this DuoQ Abuser.
Yeah.
And we've got Gunmay in 2nd, SleetTFT in 1st. I believe this is actually the order they might finish in. Anyway, so this is it. This is going to be for the best of the best. So this crazy 2nd lobby actually finishes with a little bit of a moot point, as everyone who came in the top 3 finishes in the top 3. Gunmay
Yeah.
continues to be part of our regular cast of characters from Fight Night. DuoQ Abuser also coming back for a 2nd week, and SleetTFT will be winning out the day. But who will be winning this lobby? We have Gunmay with 6 cybernetics. Will they finish? I think they've won all the lobbies today. I might be wrong
Uh,
here, as Vayne one-shotting some peeps.
yeah, not every single lobby, but definitely a couple of them, and they might do it here again. So this is probably not going to work out here for Gunmay. Just barely DuoQ Abuser hangs on, but this is still the difference between DuoQ Abuser or Gunmay getting 2nd or 3rd, which I mean, a bit of a prize pool difference right there. Basically, fighting for an extra $25, which is a little bit of change there. These players are going to want. Both Gunmay and DuoQ Abuser one shot away from
Mhm.
falling. It's
But
kind of
Sleet
is. Oh, go
lost on
ahead.
that last round. Sleet lost on that
Yeah.
last round. So this again, it couldn't be anyone. It's rock paper scissors right now.
Yeah, definitely. Sleet. Yeah, Sleet locked in for 1st place already. Yeah, but battle between Gunmay and Duo for 2nd and 3rd. The cybernetics composition here from Gunmay is super strong, as triple item on all 3 carries here because of Galactic Armory. That Vayne holding those initial early items with that IE as well, and Irelia having Infiltrator Spat, IE, and Deathblade super strong. The only thing that's kind of not great right now is that it's only an Echo 1 for Gunmay, but going up against Sleet's clone here, and ooh, that Fizz earlier talked a bit about that power of that with the Rebels, and it's going to drop that fish in the back line. Gunmay is scouting out already because he is scared he is going to lose this one.
Yeah.
Running to the
Oh
corner right
no.
now, and yeah, he is going to fall. But oh yeah, he does fall in 3rd place here, I believe, as Sleet
Mhm.
actually fell to DuoQ Abuser and
He
those
was on fire.
snipers. Yeah, 4 win streak here. So we have our placements pretty much settled right now. It's just, for a bit of bragging rights, who wins this 4th lobby.
And got to give props to DuoQ Abuser once again, 2nd week in a row, potential
Yeah.
second place
Mhm.
for him. Gunmay is living in that 3rd spot right now. Has been a while since we've seen Gunmay win a fight night, but he's been here for so long. I mean, we're all winners.
Yeah, definitely.
To be able to watch him every week. DuoQ Abuser now against SleetTFT. I'll take this call, Mr. Khroen. You get the next one if there is one. SleetTFT has that Hex Tech Gunblade Ionic Spark Asol into the back line, so he's going to be doing a good amount of damage and healing himself up, but it's hard to heal up when you've got that healing debuff on ya, but that Asol takes a little bit too long to go down. This GA going to be procced, and IE could be worth it for the Jin, but DuoQ Abuser falls, and SleetTFT wins a a second lobby today, finishing out the day in first place, I believe, in very dominant fashion. And that's going to be a pretty big point differential there between first and second. But second place is DuoQ Abuser, third place is Gunmay. But what a volatile lobby today. Once we look at these scores, you're gonna see a variety of placements for almost every single person that has participated today, except Sleep.
Yeah, I actually, yeah, once we get on the score screen, I kind of want to stay here for maybe a minute longer than usual. I think these scores going into this fourth game were so close. And when it came down to after Jakey Boy and Peeba were eliminated, a lot could have happened throughout the standings there, but it just so happened that Sleet, DuoQ Abuser, and Gunmay were able to have that consistency a bit over everybody else and played it so well. I believe Sleet has actually tied for the best fight
Oh
night
yeah, because
score. Or wait,
Nature.
maybe he actually has the best score now. Because Esha tie no. Nature's had it before with a first, second, third, but now Sleet has a first, second, second. So I think actually Sleet has the best fight night record we have ever seen here on this show.
Snaps. Congratulations, SleetTFT. Welcome to the party by breaking records. That's something that you don't see every day. But to kind of reiterate what you said, everything from second place down could have gone any way. But looking at this, DuoQ Abuser, Gunmay showing themselves to be those consistent players, that 8 and 7 points. Because again, LeeRandomly, NeekyNooky, and thatsPRIMAL all had an opportunity. But again, take a look at this lobby. Sleet on a day of volatility is a Mr. Consistent 2-2-1-1 there, 36 points, only missing on 4 total points for the day, as close to perfect as we've ever had here on Fight Night Rising.
Yeah, man. Sure. Congrats to Sleet. Maybe can get an interview in a minute here, but yeah, it is Gunmay in third and DuoQ Abuser in second. DuoQ Abuser is someone that you were talking about a lot earlier, and playing really consistently well last week, and has brought that to this week as well. So I'm going to be excited to see DuoQ Abuser once again next week and see if he's able to bring that consistency.
Yeah. The curse of the third week strikes. Hindino, I think it hit a couple weeks ago, and it's happened. It happened to Faye way early on. That the curse of that third week, where you perform very well, and that third week comes along, and then you get 7th or 8th, and you get eliminated. So I think that's kind of the real litmus test to that graduation, right? How can we start talking about DuoQ Abuser differently than we have before? And I think that if he's able to top 3 for a third week in a row, we've got to really start considering this player as someone to look out for in the grand scheme of TFT, not just in Fight Night Rising, because Fight Night Rising is that first, official, I think, litmus test to go on to the tournaments that you're taking part in, Khroen. Mr. Second Place over here. But I think as these players progress, Gunmay, he's already graduated, right? We've seen us talk, and we've seen us change our vocabulary around Gunmay as a player, and how we talk to him in the grander scheme of TFT. And right now, the next one to do it is, I think, the one that's going to be able to come in on week 3, week 4, and actually stay as well. But it will be a sad day if Gunmay does get eliminated out of Fight Night Rising, because it's been so long. He's part of the family at this point, and as our producer says, who's going to run the lobbies? He's so important on Fight Night Rising, running so well. Maybe just maybe that's our fault, but the biggest thing in the end is, like, this vocabulary around certain players does change and can change on tournaments just like this, and that's what's so exciting about being here with you and the rest of these careers. And unfortunately, we're not going to get our new record holder interviewed today. But to close things out, Khroen, any final thoughts? Any final things that you want to say, either about the vocabulary around some of these players changing over the next coming weeks, or the meta as a whole, or maybe you just want to say something fun?
I mean, yeah, I have a few things to say. I had some questions to ask Sleep, but maybe next time, if is able to return and perform well again. But to the point that you're talking about the vocabulary changing around players, I mean, Gunmay is a player that I respect a lot. I think he's performed well. Recognize that when he doesn't perform well, he needs to really step it up, and he has done that. We've said that week and week again, and he's really making that happen, really making that work. And this is sort of the grounds where we can start to recognize that drive, that passion, that consistency, and that those good placements out of players. And I think we saw it a bit with Hidden Dino. We start start to see the beginnings of it with That's Primal, but it's really Gunmay who is that sort of, I don't know, that poster child of Fight Night Rising, that poster child of consistency. And I want to see other players start to get to that point that we talk about them, in the same sort of light as Gunmay. Sleet,
Yep.
I think, a good contender there. Duo Q Abuser, definitely also a good contender there as well. We saw some promise in a couple lobbies from NeekyNooky. We saw some good performances from other players as well that we don't have here, and maybe have in other weeks for sure. But Gunmay definitely a front runner now. And I think after all, we will be getting a
Hey.
Sleet interview, actually. See if is able to answer that one in a moment.
So one last question before we get Sleet online for you. This is a little bit of a heavy one, and I'm not memeing this time. This is legit.
Okay.
I'm not going to be talking about if memes are tasty or not. The In terms of TFT, as we've gone on through these lobbies, you've watched Fight Night Rising and casted it for a very, very long time. Have
Yep.
the lobbies overall gotten stronger as time has gone on? Do you think that the lobbies that you're seeing today, last week, a couple weeks ago, how would that compare versus the lobbies that you saw maybe at the beginning of set 2? Do you think the overall quality of play has increased for TFT players as a whole? Are expectations higher than they've ever been before?
Yes, and I think overall that comes down to the fact that auto battlers in general are a relatively new genre. People are getting better and improving every single day, and I think there has been bounds and leaps and strides taken from set 1 to set 2 and from set 2 to set 3. Players as in general are becoming better at the game, and we are seeing different ways that players are expressing that skill. And especially, being here since Fight Night's inception, I have, exactly what you alluded to. I have seen and experienced that progression not only from a player's perspective, but from an analytic and from a caster point of view as well. It is really interesting and inspiring to see that progress for sure. I think that is a really good thing to bring up. Just because people are improving, it's really good. The competition
Yeah.
is getting
Yeah.
better. I like when people are getting better. I like having that competition to play against, to have that motivate me to want to get better myself. And yeah, definitely. Just think that's super good to bring up. But I think we do have Sleet on the line here. Sleet, hello. Are you here?
Hello?
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Congratulations on your victory. Not only your victory here for Fight Night Rising, but also actually setting the record for the highest placements on a Fight Night Rising ever, getting first, second. You have the highest score.
Oh.
Yeah. Did you know that after?
No, I didn't know. I was just playing.
Well,
Just
what a flex, man. I mean, at this point, just rip the sleeves off, right? Like, get those guns out. Welcome us to the gun show, because you come in here, you break the record, you get first place. That must feel great. But how do you think you got there, right? Like, is it more of like flexible variable play, or was it scouting? What do you think is maybe the top 2 reasons that you broke the record for points today?
Okay. 2 reasons I can easily say.
Okay.
Cybers are broken and
Uh-huh.
never stack Aurelia. That's it.
What do you think about that, Khroen? Never stack Aurelia?
I said the literal exact same thing on stream today. I was like, I saw Aurelia in my shop, like, no, I hate Aurelia. I don't want to stack Aurelia. And I skipped on Aurelia because of that. So 100% agree there. Cybers are broken. So Sleet, did you go into today being like you're gonna run Cybers every single game if you get like a good opening for it, or were you gonna be open to be flexible depending on what you started with, or what was your mindset going into today?
So I think the idea was that I was going to flex between 2 comps, which is either Jinx Brawlers, Jinx Rebels. I kind of lump them in the same thing because they use the same carry, and the other one being Cybers. So I always wanted Glove Start. I don't really play Rebels as much, so the last game was kind of strange for me, but I kind of just took some pages out of Fluffy's book for that game. But yeah, those are the 2 games, or 2 playstyles, I guess, that I was going for.
Yeah, and one more question before I pass it back to Boop. But in going for those rebels over the brawlers, do you think that I know you said you weren't quite as experienced there, it's a little bit of a weirder game, but do you think that rebels or brawlers are stronger? Which one has like a higher cap? Which one's more consistent? Do you have any insights there?
I think it's completely lobby dependent, to be
Mhm.
honest. I think the brawler variant actually does better against the rebel variant, mostly because the brawler variant can spread out a little bit better than the rebel one. So against like things like snipers, like I think rebels is actually worse because Nar just essentially ults your entire clump. Um, but rebels is really good against cybers, and since I saw that lobby and those item choices, I was like, this probably is a rebels game. And I also had an early GA, so it made it easier for me to decide there.
Cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, so I know you probably expected to talk about the game coming up here today, but
Sure, sure.
no. But one thing I wanted to ask you is we don't get to hear a lot of your voices all that often, maybe outside of a stream, but you have an opportunity now to kind of talk about yourself and plug yourself a little bit. So my question to you is why TFT, right? A lot of people choose a lot of different games. You decided to come in, commit to a night of TFT, and you obviously enjoy it, and the way that you're talking about it, you're obviously very passionate about it. So what kind of brought you to this world, to this community, and end up breaking the record on Giant Slayer TV's Fight Night? That's pretty crazy. What was that journey kind of like from pre-Giant Slayer to now for you?
So up until I've actually played TFT for quite a while. I played since set one. I haven't really gotten like consistently high finishes, like top 20, but nothing like holding top 10 for long amounts of time besides the beginning of set two, I think. Um, but I think I played auto chess genre for a while. I played DAC. Some might know me as just Sleet or Sleeted Rain back then. That was my Twitch handle then. So I played auto chess genre for a while, and I'm getting to stream again a bit more recently. So
Nice.
yeah.
Cool. Well, I think
Did I
I think
miss any questions?
no.
I
And so
feel that.
and then how was your experience like coming into Giant Slayer and actually participating versus maybe some other ones? Because I know Giant Slayer does a lot for the TFT community. For you to actually come in and show off your skills and get this opportunity, how does that feel for you?
Oh yeah, I actually, not gonna lie, I was using this kind of like TL practice, just like kind of like getting into like that mindset
Hmm.
of like how to play under some kind of pressure, at least something on the stake. When you're just playing ladder, you can just kind of like turn off your brain, autopilot some games. But I thought that maybe with a little something on the line, maybe I can, I don't know, see how I perform, get more practice in.
Well, you're probably feeling great about the TL tournament at this point in time.
Uh, I mean, it just ends up being you have to find the comp that's not really contested, and no one really contested me cybers this tournament. So except for the last game, I didn't play it, but yeah.
Cool. Khroen, any final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that's a very, very interesting and accurate insight there. I mean, prepping, getting practice for tournaments is really good. You know, a lot of TFT players actually like go, it's the first game that they've really competed in. So getting that tournament experience is very, very valuable. And, you know, being able to face that pressure and perform as well as you did here tonight, Sleet, is very impressive. So I don't really have any other questions, but I want to give the floor to you. You know, shout out if you have any shout outs, you know, where we find you on Twitch and Twitter, things like that. So yeah.
I think both my Twitch and Twitter is SleetTFT. I'm getting to stream a little bit more consistently now. I am playing a lot of my games still off stream, just until I get to LP value. I'm kind of satisfied with. I'm not really happy where my LP is at right now, so yeah. But yep.
Cool. Well, we'll make sure to check you out once you do start streaming. If I had a nickel for every time I said I'm going to start streaming, I'd be a legitimate millionaire at this point in time.
Nice.
But I'm sure you'll get your go of it here soon. I wanted to say congratulations and we'll see you next week. Do you have now? Last thing. This is your opportunity to do a little bit of trash
Sure.
talk. Are you ready? Are you ready? Do you have
Okay,
anything to
sure.
say for your future opponents, either at the TL tourney or on Fight Night Rising next week? You did break the record. You know, that's something you'll have until someone else takes it from you.
I'm not really much of a trash talker, except for people I really know.
That's okay.
So
Is there anyone that you want to
yeah.
see and compete against on Fight Night Rising? Maybe someone that you know and
Yeah.
comfortable with trash talking. Who? Sorry.
Yeah, this is not cut out for me.
That's
I
perfectly
can't think of
fine.
anything off the top of my head.
Well, I'm excited to see you play, and we're so excited to see DoQ Abuser and Gunmay back as well. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us. You have a great day and good luck on the TL tournament.
Thank you, and you guys too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Congrats again. All right, that will just about do it for us here tonight, Boop. We saw some history being made. We saw Sleet
Yeah.
performed real well, you know, approached it like it was tournament practice and approached it seriously enough and made it work. I mean, played really, really well. I think what's resonating with me a lot about that interview is his thoughts on, you know, finding a comp that no one really plays and finding a comp that is strong as well, approaching it seriously, being a good player, and he was able to make it happen. So nice
Yeah,
to
and
see.
I think that what really stuck out at me was when he was like, "All right, so I noticed cybernetics were contested on that last lobby, a lobby that
Yeah.
he didn't need to win,
Mhm.
right? A lobby that he didn't even need to finish, you know, below sixth on, but he, you know, decided to go at it anyway, and he identified the comp that would counter cybernetics the best, and that kind of thought process is one that's shared amongst the good players and the great players. So maybe we get some you know, we get him going a little bit more. He becomes a little bit more what, you know, more grizzled, right? Gets the beard going, you know, through fight night, and we'll see what happens later. But that's the thing. We've got Gunmay. You're taking part in some of those bigger tournaments. Nature's is in some of the Giant Slayer things. This is where you can start making a name for yourself. And I think Sleet did probably the best job you could do to make that
Oh yeah.
happen in a debut so far. And so you got to give him props for that.
Definitely huge props there. And yeah, big competition. You have the finals of Giant Slayer series here on Monday. I believe that is going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. I will be competing in that. Gummy will be competing in that. Final lobby there. So it's going to be a ton of fun. Make sure to check that out. But yeah, it's wonderful casting alongside you once again, Boop. We had a
Yeah.
great night here, great night of games. Yeah, last words. You have sign us out here.
Thank you, everyone. And Khroen, always a pleasure to cast with you, my friend. All right,
Thank
this
you.
both ways.
All right. Until next time, everybody, thank you for watching. Very, very much appreciated. We will see you all here in 1 week's time for another Fight Night Rising.